I think Steve Lorius made out with the mic just similar to that too.
Smelled weird.
Oh man. So yeah, dude. It's a pleasure to meet you. Finally.
Thank you.
You know, you've been DMing me and I didn't realize who it was. I didn't know because it's not like that. It's nothing like
Sorry to
that.
disappoint you.
No, not a disappointment at all, man. I know John said that he wanted to, have you come on because you had a lot of interesting I would say areas of life that you've handled, dealt with, and been through, and helped others go through, which is super important to us because we stand for showing multiple areas of people with amazing stories. And it doesn't actually have to be, something that they're doing for themselves when they impact others, like Britain with, the pollution in the world. When they're impacting others, it's just an amazing thing. And that's really, in my opinion, what needs to be broadcasted and glorified.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when John told me that he had somebody to come on, and this is obviously our first time meeting, but
somewhat. We'll get to that.
Yeah. Okay. So you tell me.
Not trying to be creepy, but no, we've met a couple of times.
I've been following you for a while.
Where we met?
At Bev's. Big Alex, short dude, muscular. Everyone knows Alex.
Yes.
He hasn't been there in a couple of years, and I met you through him. And there was one day when you were
in the locker room.
and just came out of the shower. Flex Lewis. You were Flex Lewis. And me and Alex were like, hey, man, is there any way we can go over there and just like say hello? You're like, you're grown, man. Go head over there. Yeah?
Oh, did I say that?
Yeah, it was. You were
like something I'd say.
But you were very nice about it. And just, it's a lot of people know you. A lot of people know you. I mean, even beyond the show and everything. So, and I know that when you guys started this, that it was definitely for that reason, not just to have like that other type of show, like a Joe Rogan experience, but to have something where you have eclectic people coming on here, not just one trick ponies who are like bodybuilders and fitness, but it all kind of ties to that, and that's why I was excited to come on here. And so I already knew what you guys were about.
I remember you were worried to come on, going, "Are you sure you want me to come on?"
You know what, this guy?
Are you sure?
But then I saw some of the people that you had on here, and not to say that I'm with them. I bring something different, or at least we're going to find that out today, and hopefully not to disappoint. But the people that you've had on here, I'm like, wow, that's good, because there's something I can relate to there. You had a wellness person on here talking about getting blood.
Dr. Elise.
She was great.
Yeah.
I thought she was phenomenal. You had the biggest, what's his name?
Big
huge,
fat loser.
Huge fat loser.
That guy was.
I feel bad every time I say his IG name. I feel a little awkward.
He's great.
He's awesome. I'm like, man, I feel bad DMing you when I'm calling you a huge fat loser because you're not that.
Well, he's self-proclaimed, so you're okay there. So I'm not going to go through every single guest you've ever had, but that's what makes this, definitely special for me as well. Because what I kind of wanted to bring today was just kind of a worldly view. I can't represent every person that listens to your show, but I can say that there are a lot of people that listen to this show that are like me, and we're regular Joes. We're not professionals. We're not public figures. We've discussed that before. And I think what I wanted to delve into was just this illusion of, there's so many things I'd love to talk about as just like a regular dude who goes to the gym, but this illusion of social media and what it does to your self-esteem and what the issues it can cause. And in my position, if I could just tell you a little bit about myself, nothing crazy.
Yeah, man,
right
absolutely.
I am a school social worker by trade, and I've been working in public education in a local high school in Suffolk County for about, this is going to be my 17th year. Coaching all those years as well, coaching boys track, but for the most part, girls track and field and cross country. So my exposure to teenagers is basically my passion for what I do as far as like mental health and education. So the education component to that is, am I a classroom teacher? No. But do I deal with kids and how they behave in the class and how they behave in school? Yes. But what comes with that, what led to that, was just also a lifetime of trying to understand myself and things that I've been through, traumatic experiences, life-altering experiences, things that really got me into trying to understand how the human brain works, how people function, why they function a certain way. And then when you throw in peer pressure, you throw in teenage angst, you throw in now social media, something I didn't grow up with, self-esteem.
We're right on that edge. We kind of we hit it right when Instagram. I mean, right when I was graduating high school.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, right when I was graduating high school, second year of college, Instagram really popped off. So that's when the real social media kind of hit. MySpace was social media, but it wasn't really, you know. it was just kind of make your wall, friend a bunch of people that you know from school, and put a dope ass song for your profile page.
Oh my God, I actually forgot about that.
It was sick. It was sick.
It really wasn't that bad. I had one for about a minute, and then my then fiance, now wife, was just like, "What the hell are you doing? Get off that?" Because I think we were very hesitant to do that, but it wasn't until I personally joined that world in like 2008, 2009, and it really didn't take off just yet. But you'd see people from high school that, man, there's some memories being brought back there. People you may have dated, people you may have had run-ins with, or just really good times that you forget about, and you're like, oh, wow, look at this. That was the great part of social media.
The social part of it.
Yeah. And here I am now, 26, 27 years old. Not now, 42 now. Working in a high school and being taken back to all that. And then I saw the floodgates open on what this can do. And the more it was introduced, the more we had to tackle it as school social workers, as counselors, as therapists almost, where we had to deal with bullying. And we had to deal with major self-esteem issues. And I'll get into the self-esteem thing in a second. You know, for me personally, I started lifting weights 15 years old. I was on the football team. All the football players gathered in the weight room one day. The coach comes in and says, "This is a bench press, this is a squat, this is a deadlift." We're like, "Hell, we know what this is." And all the guys that get on there, they put up like 135. They're like, "Yeah," everyone's cheering. And I get on there, I'm like, "Oh, that was easy." And then I like the cheers. Was I a good football player? I was okay. I wasn't the best. But I started lifting heavier and heavier, and I got more cheers. It was the equivalent of getting likes, little hearts and little, little smiley things.
Your own instant gratification while you're doing it.
Instant gratification. Now, that was hard to come by in 1992.
I was born 91.
Lord.
We're not going to talk about this.
John was born like 2 years ago, so
Almost 3.
And I definitely like to talk about that, like the generational gap, but at the same time, how we're a lot more intertwined than I think we know we are, or we want to believe that we are. You have, you know, people. I'm a Gen X, not a boomer. Because boomers are the 40s, 50s, 60s. And we'll say these damn millennials or these damn Gen Z or whatever the hell, the Generation Y, these helicopter parents. You know what? We all had generations above us that put down the next generation. Your generation, you know, you got him by a couple of years, but you're kind of coming from that same generation. It doesn't get enough credit. And it's not because you're having me on your show right now, but it doesn't get enough credit for really breaking down barriers to expose what life really is. Yes, you're also responsible for the selfie and for filtering pictures. Not you personally, but that generation.
I'm a photographer. I filter pictures.
Yes, you do, but
I don't. So
of real professionals. By the way.
Thank you. So side note on that. I work mainly with male athletes. And I have a lot of friends that tell me, and I want to get back to all your points because I want to segue right back. But on the topic of photoshopping and all that stuff, I said it a couple times. I work with mainly male athletes because it's more fun, in my opinion. It's more fun for me to work with a Kai, a Flex, you, John, because we're on the same page mentally of this looks badass, we like this, oh, this would be sick to try out, let's do this. Yeah. I find that working with females can be a little bit more challenging to please. And it's not because the pictures aren't good. It's because there's a lot more due to social media and the look that they expect, that a lot of these photographers that work with females, they make them look not like themselves anymore. And to me, I won't sit there for hours and Photoshop and pinch in and smooth your face in and this and that. It's not because I don't want to do the work. It's because, in my opinion, you should be thrilled with how you look as an individual. And I know it's hard for us. We're all our own worst critics. And I have a ton of self-esteem issues sometimes when my weight starts going up or down or this or that. And I'm like, God, how do I look? How do I look? But I feel like being true to yourself, especially in a photo shoot, when you're paying hundreds, thousands, however many dollars it is, you need to look at that person in the mirror and just say, this is who I am, accept that person, love that person. Because if you're just sitting there expecting your photos to come back airbrushed like the Facetune app that every chick uses, my fucking own family members use it. And I'm sitting at the table, I go, don't use that shit. You don't look like yourself. You look like a smoothed out clown. It's weird. It's fucking weird. You don't look normal. And to me, not that everyone should be normal. Everyone should be unique, but you should look like you look. You know, you shouldn't look like a lizard, like a smoothed out lizard.
Just puckered up all the time.
Yeah, just weird.
You absolutely hit on, I mean, show over. But like, no, you absolutely hit on exactly what the goal is, and that is to love yourself. And I'm not going to say that the cliche, what is that called? It's not self-love, self-care or something like that. That's like the new, that's a whole other topic. I 110% agree that women are held to a much different and even higher standard because they're sexualized. Hands down. Men can be sexualized too, of course, you know, but for women, you can take someone that is, you know, normally just your run-of-the-mill, nice girl, nice young woman, and they'll take about 7 different shots of their cleavage and put it out there thinking, I have to do this.
It's tough.
And I'm not going to judge that. That's another reason why I'm kind of here today is like, is to understand the why. Why are you doing that? Not to break down all the millions of people on social media, but to get to the bottom of why are you doing that? You know, what is it? It's actually creating more of an issue for you. Now, if it's your livelihood, if you're a Kai Green, if you're, you know, a famous fitness model or anyone that you've photographed, I mean, that's your livelihood. So yeah, there's an expectation that you're supposed to look a certain way, and you've bought into that, and that's what you do. Your body is your job. But for the other 99.999%, it's not. And we're putting these expectations on ourselves that we have to look a certain way. Regular people, we feel like we're not meeting that perfect standard that we're seeing. I'm looking at, you know, somebody who isn't even a professional. I'm like, damn, that guy looks good.
Yeah.
That guy looks good. Why can't I look like that?
Chris Hemsworth as playing Thor.
Yeah.
But what you don't see is, as fitness enthusiasts, and what we see when they put the behind the scenes videos up, we see that he's not that big. He's not that muscular. He's not that veiny.
He has no chest.
Yeah, for real. But that's the CGI that they add in. They make him look bigger.
So that took me in my you know, insecurity to be like, all right, let me look at this. Is this really? Oh, okay. You know, like I almost had to bring this Chris Hemsworth down a notch to make myself feel better. And that's the danger that we see. So, you know, I'm not going to keep flashing back like, now let me tell you when I was 17 years old.
No.
But like it does tie into that. So the point that you made, I coach girls track. I coach girls cross country. And I was close with a lot of girls in high school who played sports. And also, even then, just the pressure of looking a certain way and acting a certain way to get attention, to, you know, be popular. And in my world, it was very easy. You could kind of look like a slob, but if you could bench press 400 pounds, you know, you found a niche.
Makes up for some of it, or something.
It's something. So, relatively speaking, I can't speak for everybody listening right now, but it's, you know, usually you're trying to fill a void somewhere in life, okay? And for me personally, parents split. Good relationship with both parents. Father, you know, left, but when he left, okay, and we're not going to go down the rabbit hole right now, so don't worry about that. When he left, it was a huge void in my life. But it wasn't that he left permanently. It was that he left the physical home. And it made me scared. And from the ages of 11 to about 14, before I started lifting weights and, making more friends, I lived scared. I was eating a lot. I had to do things to kind of take my mind off of when I go home. My mom works till 7, and until then I'm home alone, even though I had 3 older brothers, but they moved out. I have a special needs sister, older sister, who I had to stay home with. So it was scary. It was just really scary.
A lot on the shoulders of a young boy.
Yes, exactly. So that was my why. Not why I started lifting, but why I needed validation. Why I needed something to make me
a release,
feel better. A release, absolutely. So, but for the wrong reasons, unfortunately. The lifting weights is great. You want to lift weights. You want to look good. Who doesn't? Okay. You get stronger. I found my niche. I was really strong, and I loved it. And it was however, I played hockey, football, baseball. It didn't even matter how I performed in that. All I cared about was what's gonna be my max this week. I'm gonna get a max every week, a new max. So as I did all those things, it got me further and further away of being like that scared little boy. If we want to get all Freudian here, it really was. That was my why. That helped me kind of detach from, and I felt like I had to kind of grow up a little faster. I mean, we talked about this.
Yeah, we've had that conversation before.
And it's not easy, because as much as you think you're ready to grow up, you're kind of not, and you have to make a lot of mistakes. Now, my father was there. Absolutely. It's just that it was still a traumatic experience. So my self-esteem moving forward, along with a lot of my other friends who had divorced parents, or even who didn't have divorced parents, who had shitty parents, who were awkward,
the more guests we have on, the more we find, and the more people we talk to, the more we find we have, I won't just say broken homes, but I'll say troubled and scattered homes.
Bingo. Yeah.
Especially in the form of, like you said, your father was there. My parents were split up since I was 1. My father was always there too, but he had MS. So I was always taking care of him when I was with him. My mom and him would always constantly fight. I'd be in the middle of it. And I felt like I had to grow up faster for my mom to kind of be the man of the house. Same thing with John.
My house was fucked. Mine might be broken.
Yeah. So
I think it's okay to use that term. I mean, you say, for lack of a better term, I mean, that is the term. Not everybody experiences that, though, and I get that. And you could still have low self-esteem. You could still have self-image issues. It's how you cope with those things growing up. I was, by no fault of my parents, but by the fault of my peers and the way I was brought up, and school raised me, basically. You couldn't really talk about feelings, really talk about emotions. You're a guy. You don't talk about that stuff. And that's what I love about your generation. It's not like the touchy-feely generation, but it's something where you can have an outlet like this, and you can have somebody be like, hey, man, that was great, because a huge fat loser guy saved my life. I mean, that's a huge deal. We didn't have that then. I had to go to therapy. I had to. Even though I was thriving, school was a decent student, doing well in sports, I still had this anxiety to perform, to be a certain way. It's, you're jealous of things that you see, like, oh man, I like that girl. This guy's got her. He has all these nice things, as nice as they can get in the 90s. Just
tons of crazy bones.
Yeah, crazy bones.
Automatic windows.
Oh my God.
Come on, throwback. You like that, right?
He's got a CD player in there. Right? No, but it was like that. I was the last one to have a car, because it was hard for me to get a job. I was playing so many sports, and so my coping mechanisms were very poor. And some people didn't understand that. Friends of mine were like, well, why don't you come on, hang out with us? Because every time I go hang out, I'd be very anxious. And, some girls would be there, and I'd be nervous around the girls. As much as I want, love girls, I wanted to have a girlfriend, didn't have that girlfriend, and I was too afraid to do all those things. So get bigger, get stronger. That'll make all that stuff go away. So my coping sucked. So I did the therapy thing for a while, and it helped. It helped, and it can help anyone. But the gym is where I always found that's where I always end up. Now, I'll make something very clear. Going to the gym alone will not help you 110%, not even 50%. That's part of your recovery or your healing or your coping mechanism. And as great as it is, you want to be healthy mind, healthy body, you still need to talk about something. You still need coping skills. And that's where, through my life, the biggest struggle was trying to cope each stage of my life. Life's been good to me. I've made it good. I've worked hard. I've been what I think is successful for myself. But even as, like before I got married, it was scary. Before I had my first kid, it was fucking real scary. Had my second kid, real scary. Did my first show, scary as hell, physique.
The physique.
Yeah, and it's all those things, all those transitions, they're scary. So now, let's kind of add what I do and how I kind of came full circle with this. And I think this is the general, I want to try and be like the guy's guy in the gym, all right? Where, you'll have some mook come in with the tattoos and the beard. Sorry. But I like the beard and it's like, beard doesn't make you tough. Beard doesn't make you strong. Tattoos don't make you tough.
Are your,
Let's agree to disagree.
Are your headphones loud enough, John? I want to make sure you understand this.
You have the beard and the tattoos.
But that's the thing is I grew my beard because I love my beard and that's so it's not that. It's just that some people have to look a certain way. Mm-hmm. That's not John though. That's I will say that. So yeah, it's it's just that some people. One thing you can't fake when you're in the gym is how strong you are, how big you are. Is that the most important thing? To a lot of guys, it is. To a lot of guys. And that's where my struggle has always been. When I see Big Ricky in the gym, all right, I'm not intimidated by Ricky because I know him and I like him. He's such a great dude. Yeah. Okay? He's going to go pro one day. I'm not jealous of that. But there's a part of me where I'm like, shit, I got to put my shirt on. But that happens to all of us. And that's okay. I'm not saying you can't be that way. Mm-hmm. But think about when, how did you get to that point? And as like my life went on and the more I studied, the more I, had these kids in my office or, girls on the track. And when I had the boys as well, the self-image issues they all related to what I went through. And here at 42 years old, I'm a lot more well-adjusted, and I don't know if my wife would agree with that, but like it's, you got to get to a certain point where you got to say, fuck it and be okay with yourself. I'm going to tell you now, look for, the wrinkles, you're looking into the future. It doesn't just go away. It's still very much there, but it's how much you do it to yourself. I've realized that there are no real outside forces unless you allow it to affect you. Mm-hmm. I have allowed social media to affect me way too much, whether it's about politics, about weight training, the way I look, the way I act. That is, you got to be honest with yourself. Are you allowing this in way too much? And the second you admit that, maybe I care a little too much about what this person thinks and are there enough women liking this post? I'm telling my wife I don't care about the women liking my post. I'm telling you right now, I honestly don't. And I think I can speak for you guys as well. Like, it's really not. If you're single, okay, yeah, you're trying to get the attention. I get it. I don't know what that's like. But when I get the compliments, compliments, again, it's that instant gratification.
My buddy calls them ego snacks.
That is 110% true.
The ego snack, just a little nibble. It's like, oh, great.
So let's think about that instant gratification because you brought that up. Mm-hmm. Right. That is where the generations are much different. my instant gratification was I had to wait till 4 o'clock every afternoon until the gym opened up, and I get down there, and the cheerleaders were right there. You know, they're in that hallway and everything. I'm like, door open, okay. You know, can they see in? Let's get pumped up. You know, and now it's like, let me get the right angle. How's the light going? Okay, here we go. There it is. Boom. I like that one. And I've been guilty. If you ever look at my Instagram, I've been guilty of, you know, hitting the right angle. Yeah, I look okay. Good. Am I gonna doctor it up a little bit? Yeah, I'm gonna make it a little sharper. And in the beginning, when I started looking a certain way, I'm like, wow, I don't know if I'll ever look like this ever again. Put it out there, and I loved the praise. I loved it. I thought it was great. I'm like, holy shit! This whole time, it could have been this easy to get this gratification. But the more I got it, the more I wanted it. You could say it's an ego snack. I didn't walk around with the ego like projecting on other people. The people I work with wouldn't know that ever because I have to wear a shirt and tie. But when I go home, and even my wife would see it, now my kids are old enough where they would see it, be like, oh, Dad, stop it, you know? I let too much of that in. And I'm seeing other friends of mine, whether they're my age or younger, some older, who just let this dictate how they not only perform in the gym, but like also in life. They have like almost imaginary battles with other people that they're like, oh, fuck the haters. You know, we don't like the haters. What haters? What haters do you have? If you don't have haters, then you're doing something wrong. Bullshit. I'd rather have people like me than hate me. But like, again, it's creating. I was gonna try and get all technical and throw some, you know, psychological jargon at you. Not that people wouldn't get it, but like I just forgot the words. It's fraudulent. It's fraudulent. It's a fraud. All right. People are posting that's their 7th or 8th pic that they took before they posted it, of the cleavage or of the side shot or of a. Did I get my vein in there? You know, you know, how's that camera looking?
Yeah. Or
look how happy my kids are. My daughters want to kill each other every freaking day, but you wouldn't know that on my Instagram account. You wouldn't know that. And there is a part of me that's like, I don't want to project that. Who wants to put out there the shit that's going on in their life? Because then you look like you're a whiny person. But if you put too much of that out there, like all these great things, you're being a fraud. You're not telling the truth. It's okay to post things. It's okay to show that, like, yeah, we are happy. Sometimes we are happy, and that's what we want to show you. But to lie and say, smile for the picture.
Yeah.
Stop it and smile. And they smile. Oh, what a great picture. Little do you know what led up to that picture.
Yeah. A war and a bribe.
Exactly. And there was a part of me, and I found myself, this was a breaking point for me as a parent. That's when I realized, like, you better stop this shit. Put the ego aside. It doesn't matter what you post or what people think, okay? You cannot force happiness and then, well, you just can't force happiness. You can't fake this and put these pictures out there and be like, look how great my life is. Yeah, we all want to project that, but that's not what it is. So be a little more truthful. So I scaled back on it. I used to be very political on there, and then it turned into wars where I was losing sleep at night, losing friends. Especially now in this climate, you know, it's either you love them or you hate them, and if you don't, either one, then like
you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
You're damned either way. So
that's why
let go of it.
That's why I don't say anything. I
not
literally
worth
say
it.
nothing, and I got called out for not saying something because someone just felt like they needed to call me. They said I was basically a racist. I'm like, have you seen my fucking Instagram?
Yeah.
It's 90% black athletes. Really?
Yeah.
I'm just pretending I don't like black people. Like, come on.
And
what are we talking about?
then you'll
Why is it? What is this fucking
No,
debate?
exactly.
I'm like, just because I don't say something doesn't mean I don't care for anybody or I don't care about what's going on. It just means that my social media isn't a political platform where I'm going to battle with everybody on a fucking daily basis. It's not worth it.
And now there's a lot of pressure on white, straight males who, and by no means is this like, oh my God, we're oppressed, right? But like the pressure is, you have a responsibility now.
Yeah.
And you have this platform. You should be using it. You need to be an ally. That's tough because all my life, I don't know what a lot of black people have gone through. I have my black friends who've told me But to say, like, you're an ally, you got to stick up for us. It's like, I will, but when? How?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? This isn't what this was built for, said Nick.
Yeah,
Said
well,
Nicky
that's
Rizzles.
what,
Yeah.
listen, like we said on an episode a couple weeks ago, we
Yeah.
took this big break for COVID.
Yeah.
So we took the big break because of COVID. We knew people weren't going to want to come into the studio. And I say it every time. We could have done Zoom interviews and we could have had some very big names come on via Zoom. However, we want to stick to the way that we've been doing it.
Yeah.
The in-studio feel, the, good audio for
Love it.
everybody.
It's great.
Mhm.
Yeah, just I want to look people in the face. I don't want to look at them over a fucking computer screen and be like, "What'd you say?" Like you're
Yeah.
breaking up.
You're buffering.
Yeah, I mean, our first episode back, we did about an hour episode, just about everything that's going on,
Mhm.
and we scrapped it. It's still in the computer. It's still there on reserve if we ever want to post it, but that's not what we're here for. We're not here to say this group is wrong, this group is right, this person's wrong, this person's right. We don't want to get into that.
Yeah, there's a time and a place for it.
We had
Yeah.
my buddy on who's a cop. He came on.
I saw.
And
I heard.
and yeah, a great episode. I mean, listen,
It was.
if you can like the police, you can hate the police, doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
I hope that opens some people's eyes of what actually goes into dealing with some shit, because
Yes.
it's some crazy shit.
So when somebody says, you need to step up and say X, Y, and Z about these types of people, it's like, well, you know what? I gave you that. And inadvertently, I think, because so you had a cop on the show, you're going to get some of that, but you didn't expect him to come out and say what he said.
No.
And that's fine.
We
and
kept
that's
it real,
fine.
and that's
Yeah.
what we do. We keep it real.
Yeah. My whole thing was,
And actually, I haven't heard anything on that episode.
Yeah, me either.
I
Nothing
haven't
bad.
gotten anybody message me about it, like negatively, no
Yeah.
backlash, no nothing like that. Not that I thought that
No.
was going to happen.
Yeah.
Because if somebody did, I'd politely explain to them that
You can
I-
go fuck yourself.
that and I have whoever the fuck I want on my show. If
Yeah.
you have somebody that's going to speak on a different side of the ball that you want to come on the show, introduce me. But it's not going to be a screaming battle. It's going to be a
No.
conversation like we had.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be. I'm
Yeah.
not here to argue or say that this person shouldn't say this or should say that. I'm just going to keep it real 1,000% of the time. That's all I can do.
Yeah,
Exactly.
So there's no, I think I've said this to John before. Well, John's the only person I've talked to before I talked to you today. But like in our conversations, John knows that, that I'll always look at all sides. And, before coming here today, I said to myself, you're not going to go there and bash anybody. Don't bash the guy that's posting pics of himself, as like this demonic presence who can kill anyone when he's just a big mush on the inside.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Don't kill the person that says or bash the person that does the million boob shots. And it's like, she's really nice. I know her from the gym. And like, what the hell is she doing? I'm not here to do that.
You're here to get into, like you
Yeah.
said, the logics of it, the why. or the
Yeah. And I'm not trying to get away from what you just brought up. I think it's really important that like everyone kind of has a responsibility, but it's like we have the time and a place for it. My responsibility are not just my family, but also the kids I have to service in my community, in my school. So
Which I'm sure every race falls into that category.
Yes,
There's
it
not a
does.
specific one race that you deal with.
yeah, and no
Right.
one's telling me like, hey, listen, you have to follow Black Lives Matter, or listen, you better be pro police and fuck those other people. Nobody's telling me to do that. What I'm doing is I have the kids in, and even during this whole thing when, I had Zoom and I have my Remind app that I keep in touch with the girls on my team. And that's been my connection to them. And that's the time and place to say, hey, I'm here. I recognize that girls on my team, girls of color on my team, are having a real tough time right now.
Mhm.
And I can't tell them that I even understand. I mean, I can empathize.
And you could say, I have an ear to listen for you.
Yes.
Right.
I can empathize. Empathy to me is the biggest trait, the most quality trait for anyone, but that has really been pushed from this more millennial, younger generation. Empathy. For the first time, for someone to call you out, yeah, that sucks. I don't applaud them. It's like, mind your business.
Mhm.
But for them to say, hey, you missed this too. It's like, all right, calm down. We get it. But for somebody even like dare say that, I mean, maybe they feel privileged to say something like that. But I think it's great that somebody's at least recognizing that.
It
Not to
goes
say you did anything wrong, Nick. I mean,
no, it goes back. It goes back to social media, and I want to hear what John has
Yeah.
to say.
Sorry, buddy.
It goes back to social media. No, I just know when he wants to say something. So
Yeah,
I always
jump in.
I always like to acknowledge it that I'm not going to
Yeah.
talk over him. It goes back to social media where everyone feels they have a platform,
Mhm.
and not everybody not only needs a platform, but not everybody can't just view things without berating just because somebody doesn't agree with their opinions.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of causes the more conflictual arguments and finger pointing, I think. My mom commented on a video on Facebook. She thought it was on her friend's post. It was on a big, wide body. It was like on a regular mainstream post. And then she starts getting hate. I said, you can't do shit like that. I said, you can't.
Yeah.
I know that you think that you're right or that you feel very strongly about something that you just commented on. I said, but now they look at your profile. They look who you're associated with. I said, it's not worth it. Just keep your mouth shut and talk about it by yourself behind closed doors.
But if you do say it, be ready to take responsibility for it.
Yeah.
I'll always say that. Or if you're about to say,
Make sure you put your Lord of the Rings, the mithril.
Oh,
Make sure you put the
Run
mithril
away.
on because goddamn, the arrows are going to be coming.
if you're gonna say whatever life matters, you better be prepared, and not just be like fact. The person that you're arguing with doesn't give a shit. They have their mind
they
made
don't
up.
Yeah.
You're not going to change their mind.
They're called keyboard warriors for a reason.
Bingo.
Well, anybody that has time to argue on Facebook all day, they have nothing.
Well, right now they do because
Yeah,
everyone's getting fucking
but they
unemployment.
have nothing else going on besides fucking not learning how to read yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what I wanted to say
Yeah, go
before was what do you call it? Oh fuck, Nick, you fucked me. I can't remember.
I fucked you out.
Shit.
Pause.
Come back to me. Come back to me. Go. I tap you in.
I'm tapped in. But one thing I think is universal is having empathy. Sympathy is someone who's gone through the experience who could say, I know how you feel. Empathy is, I see what you're going through, and I can only imagine, and I'm sorry that you feel that way. Or, like, damn, that's something. So that's a difference right there. And a culture of empathy, to me, creates more caring, and is as froofy as this all sounds, to me, that's more important than this. You can go on Instagram right now. Most of the guys are, don't fuck with me. And all the girls are, I can have any man I want, or I want to look a certain way. That is what you see. And those are personas that lead to all these fucking self-esteem issues where you're just, you're putting this expectation that you have to look a certain way every time out there. And when you don't, or when somebody shows you up, or when somebody puts you in your place, it's like, you're fat. Oh, shit. Oh, no, you're wrong.
The F word?
Yeah, exactly. That's the real F word. Or you're wrong. And if you find yourself losing sleep over that, you have lost your way, and you need to fix it. You need to find a way out of that. Not saying, and what I did was I got rid of my Facebook account for 3 months. I was not living on social media. I wasn't delved into it. It wasn't affecting my life, but it was affecting my self-esteem. I couldn't argue politics anymore. I was done with it. No matter how right I thought I was, enough.
You could legitimately have a full file of all statistics, factual information, and everything under the sun that supports whatever your argument was or supports whatever your viewpoint was that someone's arguing against, and they'll just scroll right past that and go, no, fuck you, you're still wrong.
You're absolutely
A
wrong.
great example of that is, do you know how many articles you see on Facebook now where people just share it and they don't even read the article?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Or respond to it without reading the article, thinking that's something.
There was one
Yeah.
there was one I almost shared, and I caught myself, and I said, "This article looks very familiar. I feel like I've read this before." And right before I shared it, I clicked the article and I read it, and it was something that was from 4 years ago. I said, and they were acting as if it was a current event of a killing of cops. And I was like, wow, I said, this is why I can't even fucking look at it anymore. I set time limits. The only thing I do on Facebook now is the Japanese Akita group. That's it. I talk to all of them. I put pictures up of him all the time because the breeder wants to see as many pictures as humanly possible of the puppies, and I'm the one that posts every 4.5 seconds of him. So I do that, and to go on your point about self-esteem and the effects of social media. When I first started doing video, especially when I first started, being in the fitness background first, competing, whatnot, doing all that, I knew how it affects you mentally when you start seeing a ton of stuff, say, of others competing against you, or you see, how's he looking? How's he looking? And I'll tell you what, it got that way for me when I started my business because all the creatives started following me, all the other videographers and photographers, and I'd start looking at their work, like they'd be coming up every 5 seconds posting, and I'd start looking at their work, and I'm like, is mine not good enough compared to this? Or I'd start to compare.
Yeah, it's not unhealthy. It's not unhealthy. It's how you cope with it.
Yeah, and it would put me, it would almost put me in a funk sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I'd watch a video or I'd look at a photo and I'd go, man, fuck, I know I could shoot that, but I'm always rushed at my shoots and this and that, and then I would just sit there and get irritated, and it didn't help. And besides my close friends, I don't follow any creatives anymore. Like I unfollowed all the big names, the big names, and not because they weren't motivating to me. It was because it was causing more irritating mental anguish than anything, and I wasn't able to focus on developing myself and continuing to move forward in my business.
And that's perfect. And you don't need me to validate that, but like that's perfect. You coped with it. That's how you cope with it. If you need to take a step back from it, that's the way to do it. You do what's best for you. That's best for your world and the people around you.
Yeah.
And if it means that like I'm not going to snap at my kid because somebody called me I forgot what they call me, libtard. I'm not even a liberal, but like they call me a libtard because I disagreed with something. Libtard. I'm like,
Go home and dye your hair blue.
They call me a libtard. I'll kill this motherfucker. And I work with this guy. I'll kill him.
The goatee turned red. It's a flame started shooting out.
Exactly. But like,
can we get ice cream, Dad? No.
You'll never have ice cream again.
I heard liberals eat ice cream. God damn it.
Don't call me. What's a liberal, Daddy? I don't even know. I'm sorry. That was funny. But like, I think back to my point of, being consumed and seeing, if I may, just being around the adolescents, the kids.
Yeah.
And seeing kids that have been suicidal over, not looking a certain way, having eating disorders, major eating disorders. And now I'm seeing the trend of more boys having eating disorders and being in the bodybuilding world, which I am not. I'm just a by trait, what's the word? Like hobby is bodybuilding. I'm not a professional.
Jack's social worker.
Girls track coach. And I'm seeing more, and I can understand why. And I'm seeing it more with the teenagers now, not just wrestlers, because wrestlers have always. You can do a whole show on high school wrestling and eating disorders, and I'm sorry, it's terrible. But just hey, Mr. Petti, what do you do to get big? Well, I take care of myself, and I don't have the time. I've sat with kids before, because there was some disclosure. I would tell them like, hey, I do this. And I eat this, and I'm not telling that's what you should do, but these are good, healthy traits. Make sure you're not eating after midnight. You're not a gremlin. Make sure you're Mogwai, sorry. Make sure you're just drinking enough water, little things, and it would make such a difference to them. And they're like, so I shouldn't fast for 20 hours and eat for 1 hour, and then do this.
But my feeding window's open.
Exactly. I just stopped working out a half hour ago. I have to eat.
Facebook said so.
What are you, a camel? Your feeding window?
my protein. I think that's what it's called. Whatever that window is.
Catabolic window.
Catabolic window.
Yeah, I used to believe.
Anabolic window.
I used to believe that. I used to believe in when I used to read all the magazines.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting. You talk about high schoolers and kids throughout school dealing with mental pressures and just everything that goes into coexisting with a bunch of other kids going through hormonal changes. And it's very wild and interesting ride. You want to be liked, you want to be loved by everybody. I've always been okay with standing out. I don't like being a sheep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very to myself. I don't really give a fuck what other people think of me.
Mm-hmm.
That has developed over years of being me now.
That's a good defense mechanism.
Yeah.
It's a great defense mechanism.
It is. And it wasn't always like that.
Yeah.
It was, although I say I don't always care, I do care.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, what I'm saying? Like there's two sides to every, there's multiple sides to every die, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So for me being really heavy in high school, I know you probably personally don't know, I was 270. I was pre-diabetic. So for
Been
me,
there.
for me to go through that,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden from 10th grade of no girls were talking to me besides like the girls in our group of friends. You know, I wasn't looked at any particular way, to going from that to dropping down to 180, and then all of a sudden
Attention.
my confidence, my, you know,
Yeah.
I had a swagger about me everywhere I went. I just I formed a really thick outer shield from that. And then from growing up without a father that was really a father figure, my mom played both roles. And then eventually getting a long-term girlfriend, and then it abruptly ending after 3.5 years, and just being completely devastated and almost having that armor ripped off. And then after that, bodybuilding and doing 2 shows, doing 23-week preps.
Immersed. Yep.
23-week preps. Didn't want to talk to. I went away to school. I say this on record. Most people would never say it. I'll say this on record. I went away to college. I didn't hook up with a single girl. 2 years. 2 years I was away at school. Both those years, I was bodybuilding. My friends were like, come out to the bars Saturday night. I said, okay, I can. I'll come out till about 10:30, 11. I got to go to Montanari Bros the next morning to go train. Like that.
That's awesome.
And listen, man,
Great.
listen, you know, looking back at it, do I wish I was hooking up with girls? I went to a school that had some of the hottest girls out there. Do I wish I was like that? A little bit. But at the same time, I'm not like that personally. My personality doesn't reflect that. I'm not the kind of guy to just hook up with a bunch of chicks and feel good about myself.
You were raised by a mom.
Yeah,
a mother.
I was
And
raised by a mom.
So your respect for women is different.
Yeah.
You don't objectify them, at least not as much as most men do.
Yeah, and you know, especially
that's good.
living with. I was in a suite with. Oh God, how many of us were in there? 6 other guys. No.
Yep.
Yeah, 6 total guys. So 5 other guys I was living with, and just seeing the interactions, and I mean,
Different girls every
different
night coming in
girls,
and out.
just the personality clashing between everybody, and then I was in prep.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to fuck with me when I was in prep because my mindset was so locked in that after that breakup and going right into bodybuilding and doing my show and building myself back up almost.
Perfect storm.
Listen, man, it was a perfect storm, but at the same time, I almost became jaded a little bit, and I almost became I had a chip on my shoulder, and I still have it. I do. I still act like it every now and then. It's not really on a emotional level kind of thing, but like every now and then it comes out. Like I feel not like victimish, but I feel like I put the shield up. I don't want to. I don't want to get hurt, or I don't want to talk to some people that I can't trust fully.
Yeah.
So it was a wild roller coaster of, you know, an adolescence into maturing and then graduating, and I've always worked.
Well, what you just did was something that we call transference, countertransference. It's basically, let's say I was the therapist. I'm not trying to be one right now.
No, come on,
But
come
like,
on through, baby. This is why we have you on.
Exactly.
Transference, countertransference, where like basically what you just said, I went through the same thing. I was not prepping in college, but I went through a breakup after being raised by a mom. Dad was around, but it was more by the mother. I didn't have that objectification of women. I was very much attracted to them. Didn't really have any girlfriends. Too afraid of them. And when I was around them, I saw how my friends treated them like total shit. And I'm like, I can't do that. You know, it was this respect that I just kind of had. It was also a fear. And finally having a girlfriend, a very, very serious one for a couple of years that ended abruptly. And it was devastating for me.
It's hard. It's hard to sit there and think, was it me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Were the actions because of me? Did I do something? I thought I treated everything respectfully. You know, you start almost questioning yourself, and that's really,
of course.
And yes, that's acceptable, but at the same time, it's not what you should be doing. Technically, you should be accepting that something kind of didn't last, appreciating it for what it was.
Easier said than done. You're right.
Yeah.
Way easier said than done, because I've
Yeah.
dealt with it.
Oh boy.
So
I mean, I'm not about to go back 22 years ago, but that's when it happened. And so before I met my wife, it was a few years after that, I ended up with that thick shell, immersing myself in fitness and weightlifting, and I dropped the weight. And as much as like I got more attention for it, it really, I shut myself off from a lot going on in the world. That was a weird phase in my life, but I was happy. I didn't mind it. It was weird. There was no anxiety. There was no depression. I had fun, drank a little bit, didn't really. There was no hooking up.
Yeah.
I went away. I went upstate. I went away for a couple of years. It's actually where I eventually met my wife. And before her, I had like a short-term girlfriend, and so there was no like hooking up and like. But I remember like immersing myself. I got this opportunity to do something with my life. I depended way too much on this other person who I was so serious about at 20 years old.
Yeah.
But I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with her, and that changed me. That changed me big time. It killed my confidence. It killed it. But I had to take those 2 years to build that back up. And I couldn't imagine doing it being around this. Let's see this. Being around this.
He's talking about you,
Killing
Apple,
it.
you
Because
motherfuckers.
Because everything I live through memes now of your generation. Be like, oh my God, I couldn't imagine seeing my ex like the next week with another guy. Oh my God, it's insane. Or it's like,
Oh God, I would have loved to have grown up in your generation.
because you didn't. I just happened to bump into her a year later, and I saw the dude she cheated on me with.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, ouch. But you know what? I was already over it. And so, yes, that put a chip on my shoulder where I called it the fuck it years. It was right when I was turning 21. And so I kind of had that same experience. It kind of built who I am today, where once the going gets tough, I kind of put up a little bit of a wall, and I learned how to defend myself. But I don't become an asshole, and I don't withdraw, and I don't shut everyone out. It's just kind of like, this is what I'm going to do. Have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to get off Facebook for a little while. I'm going to get off social media for a while. Fuck all you. In a nice way. Go have fun. I'm not going to let you bring me down. So, but I will say this. As much as I've struggled with all that and being with these kids, before the quarantine, it has reminded, this is the transference, counter-transference thing, where their situations reminded me of things I went through. Even if they were a black girl who has a completely different life than I do, still had to go through some bullying issues, has to go with being treated a certain way because that was unfair,
Yeah, it's like PTSD almost for you.
It was most
you
certainly.
get sent right back to Nam.
The self-awakening.
It is. And the best thing you can do to be an effective therapist or just school counselor, it's kind of the same thing, is to not let that come into the session or into the conversation. But sometimes you have to disclose those things, just like you disclosed to me, just like you disclosed to me. Those are good things. You have to pick the right time to do that. Now, I'm not about to say to one of my kids, like, "Yo, my girl dumped me, man. She was banging another guy." I'm not going to say that to her. But like,
What do you mean?
I've had.
What do you mean they do that?
Coach, I was just talking about why I didn't get on the starting 4x1. No, but like that's.
And they were eating spaghetti, and we don't fucking eat spaghetti in this household anymore.
That is. So you got to be careful with that. And so the trend that I'm seeing, and I continue to see, is just, enough of the bullshit. Like, there's not enough personal interaction.
Yeah.
That's why you want someone here. That's why you don't want Zoom. That's why, as much as schools should not reopen right now or anytime soon, we still miss that, and you need that. You become a keyboard warrior. You're hiding behind something. You're fraudulent. You're using another persona, and you're saying things that you would never say to somebody, let alone like, fuck that guy, or like, oh, you ugly. Oh, this bitch thinks she. And it's funny, but like at the same time, I'm watching these girls. They're like, oh yeah, I spoke to him for 3 hours last night. I'm like, on the phone? No, we texted. Oh, okay. I don't get into the relationship things with the girls on my team, but I'm just saying, like,
Oh my God.
they'll talk about it, and I'm like, do you guys talk? Is there any interaction?
Yeah.
Well, here's one of the issues. And just, I know personally, I deal with it probably a lot more than John. I know John's been in a relationship for a little while now. The issue with the generational texting, it drives me nuts. Drives me nuts because I have so many people hitting me up for business-wise during a day, between setting up shoots on a normal day, besides COVID shit, but between setting up shoots, getting business together, talking to my mom, making sure everything's good. There's so much that goes into my day that a lot of times, on top of now taking care of the dog and editing and getting everything done and the podcast, I don't want to sit there and message every 5 fucking seconds with a significant other. I don't want to do it. I don't want to sit there and go, hey, how are you? Good. You? Good. What are you doing? Oh, nothing. Podcast. Nice. I don't want that. It's not.
I'm laughing because it's true.
It's so true.
It's a pain in the ass.
And guess what? Every time I talk to a new girl, a lot of times that's what I'm dealing with. And I get turned off instantly.
Yeah.
Instantly. I don't want to have
I couldn't imagine.
bullshit small talk. I don't. I'm not saying you got to sit there and break down E=mc² for me.
Yeah.
But I'm saying have something more meaningful. If I ask you how your day is, don't just say good.
I want to see the emotion come out.
I want to say
Why was it good?
oh well, work was great. I got to do this. We're leading a big project. Something. I want to have communication.
Feel it.
And literally, my friends tell me I'm too hard. Now, like on girls, a lot of times when I start talking to a female, and the conversation starts to dwindle, 23-year-old Nick would say, "Fuck it," instantly. I'm talking 0 time. Delete her off everything, and just call it a day and wash my hands of it. And if they message me again, they go, "What happened?" I go, "I'm sorry. I only have limited time in a day, and if it's going to be one-word answers or it's going to be, I'm not going to put the energy and effort
You
into
set
it."
your boundaries. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
28-year-old, going to be 29 next month, year-old Nick, he's sitting here single going, maybe I should give them a chance.
You got to adapt in a
And
way.
every single time I give them a chance, I'm reminded why 23-year-old Nick is the fucking shit and how his attitude should just continue to pillage me forward into my 80s and 90s.
Oh my
You got to write a book.
Oh yeah.
23-year-old Nick is the shit. Just the chipped armor, pissed off at everybody. Don't talk to me.
Yeah.
If you're not going to bring any value to this, I look at potential partners as a business expense, like a business expenditure or an adventure, I should say.
Okay.
I need, if I'm going to give 50%, I need 50 so we meet in the middle for 100.
Yeah.
I don't want to be chasing you. I don't want to be getting one-word answers when I'm texting you. Pick up the fucking phone.
Well, then consider yourself lucky because you have at least.
I'm not lucky. I'm still single since
No.
28. I'm not. I had to buy a dog. I needed attention and affection.
He sleeps in the corner.
Beautiful.
He's the shit, yo.
He's a good boy.
When I say consider yourself lucky, it's not that you are, you had enough time away from this where you know how you developed social skills.
Yeah.
That's the biggest issue I'm trying to touch on is what's your interpersonal skills like? How do you communicate with people? Like you have to train people in person. You have to say yes, no. You're not Austin Powers doing that, but like I get it. Like you have to talk to people. That's part of what you do. And part of what I do is I have to kind of bring that out in kids who, they'll talk to me, but they don't know how to really express how they're feeling.
They don't understand communication. Nobody has eye contact anymore.
No.
It's wild. Nobody can look somebody in the eye and actually hold a conversation. I have that on date. I've had that on dates too, where it's like all over the place type of thing, or like she'll sit there and take the phone out and whatnot. If you're taking your phone out on a date, day one, listen, I'm not saying that it couldn't have been because she was bored. I like to think I'm pretty fucking entertaining. However, if you're already taking your phone out and you're doing your thing on there, that's a problem to me, because what's it going to be in 6 months when we're not bored of each other, but we're acclimated to one another, and it's not that fresh feeling that we were talking about earlier. Yeah. And now you're just sitting on your phone constantly, and I'm talking to the side of your fucking head.
I'll tell you right now. I mean, there are plenty of times where my wife and I are 2 feet apart, and we're more immersed in this. And we'll say, even to our kids who might be watching TV, we're like, oh, I'm in the middle of something here. I have to do this, and we have to remind ourselves every once in a while, put the thing down and continue what you were raised doing, that you're possibly the last generation of people who can actually exercise real interpersonal skills.
Oh, it's so scary.
Because
don't say that.
The worst thing that's coming out of this next generation, and I love this next generation of kids, okay? I do. But the worst thing coming out of it is the fact that they cannot identify emotion. where their emotion is through text. What do they mean by that? LOL. Was that a sarcastic one? You can't recognize social cues. You have kids now with more being diagnosed with Asperger's, which if you're familiar with, it's like a type of autism, pretty minor, but they can't read social cues. Where if you're being sarcastic with me, there are kids where I'm not going to say this causes that. There's many other factors that where kids cannot understand that you're being sarcastic.
It doesn't help.
When you say 23-year-old Nick is the shit, they'll be like, the fuck's this guy talking about? Like that is something.
Is he in the room?
Did he have to go to the bathroom?
Where? Where's 23-year-old Nick? Is it manifested in the dog?
So
which emoji are you feeling?
Exactly. If you could please type it on here. Show me which one.
Show me on the doll.
It's going
to turn those kids into, you ever see the orangutan that points at the pictures and knows what all the words are?
Yes. Yeah.
Which one are you feeling? The smiley face or the angry face?
and that is part of my job. I'm trying to get away from that. I'm trying to help them get away from that, even as a coach. And I want to delve into something else before we go.
Delve into this right after this statement.
You got it.
The crazy thing for me is I think it has a lot to do with the technology. Obviously, I think it has a lot to do with the immersion in a device that's just a fucking screen sitting in your hand. When I used to work at Apple, I used to see it all the time.
But a world in your hand.
A world, correct. But a world worth losing those personal communication skills? Probably not. Probably not. Because when that world and the infrastructure crashes and nobody knows how to do anything besides hit a fucking screen that doesn't do anything.
Yeah. For the last 4 months, it just did, if you really think about it.
Exactly. So it's just... You start to really, I mean, like I said, I worked at Apple, so I used to see parents and their kids and how they interacted and whatnot, and I used to just be astonished at some of the things I used to see. My best friend from high school was like one of my only friends left from high school. I'm his son's godfather. I see what they do with him. Anytime he's always looking for something in his hands. They just stick a fucking iPad or a phone in his face, and he's just sitting there like this. That like can't be great for his development.
John, I love you. But it's like this guy. This is the third segue that he has already done before I even got to it. No, and that's fine.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's that you're hitting on exactly what I was going to talk about. No matter how hard, and get ready for this if you're going to have kids. Okay,
raise the fucking volume.
Yes. Get ready.
ASMR.
This is your kids are going to destroy your life.
Don't have them wrap up.
I adore my kids. When you see what you see on social media, if you follow me, that's for real. How much I absolutely cherish them and my wife. I'm not just saying that because she's going to listen to this. I genuinely love them. Like, it's an unconditional, immediate, it's something you'll never experience until it happens, and I hope you guys do it. And if you don't, that's fine too. If it's just him, awesome, but there's an unconditional love from the first day.
I got him to defend the family, so eventually I'd like to have one.
Good. So that being said, man, if you think you're hard on yourself when you look in the mirror and you're like, shit, I still have this and this is still happening, when you don't feel like an adequate parent, oh man, that is...
I'm sure that's rough.
That is so terrible, where that's when I start spending more time in the gym. It's part of what I've had is anger issues, okay? Not the, holes in the wall, let's go nuts and start a fight and road rage shit, but like some anger stuff. And when you start seeing your own kids copying those traits, that's when you better stop. You better switch that off. And another part is, the kids can't control their emotions at 2, 3, 4 years old, let alone 10 or 11, or when they become prepubescent, which I'm going through right now with one. They can't regulate their emotions. So sometimes it's easier to just say, here, just be quiet.
Just
be
watch
quiet.
something and keep yourself busy.
Be quiet. And it's not so much, and you're right. There is a time where it's like, leave me alone.
Yeah.
But there's also a time where and if you feel an overwhelming sense of guilt, then it's okay. That means that it's wrong. But every once in a while, just, girls, go over there, watch YouTube, make sure it's on the parental setting. and that's okay. But at the end of the day, you got to make sure, just like the false reality in here, you come back to the reality that you love the shit out of these kids so much that you better say, how was dance class? Okay, tell me about what happened. And even if it's the most ridiculous thing, it's not ridiculous. It's their world. And it's just like when I have a kid in my office or a kid in the hallway who's having a breakdown or a girl who didn't hit a PR in her 5K race. It's their reality. And you got to be present in their reality. Kind of go with it. As long as they're not going to hurt themselves or anyone else. I want to stab that bitch. No, it's okay. I'm here with you.
Give me the javelin.
I made a
That's
shiv.
outlawed in Section 11, by the way.
I made a shiv right here. Where the fuck did you make that?
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for making that shit.
I'm proud of you, but put it back on my desk.
I've also seen how easy it is to become a helicopter parent.
You said that
easy.
before. What is
what
a
does it mean?
helicopter parent?
Trouble. Boom, pick him up, get him out.
Gotcha.
Anything that my kid can't do wrong. Yeah, like there's points where I'm like, no, I don't want my kid to be the asshole. And when I see them at 5, 6 years old, being the one kid who's kind of acting up, I'm blessed, man. I got some good behaved kids, but there's times where I'm like, oh shit, no, don't do this here. Like, no, you get that Samuel L. Jackson look like.
It's obviously not the same, but that's like with him. 99% of the time, he's a great dog.
Yeah.
Every now and then, because he's going through puberty for dogs. Now he's sexually maturing. Every now and then,
everything.
Every now and then, he'll have like we'll be on a walk. We'll get the zoomies, so he'll start running back and forth. I'll have to grab him and control him because I don't want him to choke himself or anything like that.
Yeah.
Bit me pretty hard the other night. Like everyone thinks I have a sweet angel dog, and he is
Sex and aggression.
99% of the time.
We're all animals.
But I also have to let him know who the alpha is and what you can't do that shit. So
it's I'm gonna say it's similar, but it's not with parenting. And I know you're not trying to compare the two.
No,
Trust
not
me,
at
I know
all.
you're not. I know. But I know what you're saying.
Yeah, all of a sudden he starts acting up. You're like, oh God.
So that's my own insecurity. That's my own insecurity. If my kid ever embarrasses me, for me to say I'm embarrassed of my kid, dude, fuck you, Jim. Me. That's your own insecurity. My kids are deathly afraid of dogs. Deathly afraid, to the point where they're screaming if they see a little poodle. Now, people like us, as somebody who grew up with a dog, somebody who has a dog, it's hard to understand that. It came from
I was
just
about to ask,
the
where
fact
did
they're not
it come
exposed.
from?
No, they just haven't been exposed. And the times they were exposed, it was like some violent dogs were around them, very jumpy and stuff since they were little kids. They actually used to be really good around dogs. And there's been points where I'm like, oh my God, girls, stop. Oh my God. No, listen, I don't know. And you find yourself almost making excuses for them. That's where me as a parent, I got to check myself. There's nothing, my kid didn't do anything wrong. I'm not being a helicopter parent, but eventually we'll get them to like dogs and they'll be fine. That's what you got to keep in mind. When my oldest wasn't reading by the time kindergarten ended, they're not supposed to be reading. Some kids can. I read in
most adults can't read right now.
Exactly.
They go by the pictures of the articles on news.
Exactly. They don't even read the headline. So they just see angry protesters and they're like, ah. Anyway, so the you can't. You just you got to check yourself, and that's your own problem that you're having with that. And I'm not saying, Nick, don't be what's wrong with you? No, there's going to be a part of you, and that's okay as long as you don't let that become the relationship where every time you're out, you're like, oh shit, what is he going to do now? Or if with my kids, I know now, they're cool in public. It's not like, I have two little drunken midgets with me. They're just, they're fine. So I just, even as a coach, there's times where my team has performed terribly when they should have been great. And I'm like, I feel like such a failure. I feel like it's my own insecurity. It's my own thing that I'm doing. So again, this is, I didn't get a chance to touch on the dysmorphia thing that I was talking about.
We're going to.
Because
please touch on it.
If you don't mind, that the good segue here is, if you don't want your own kids, this is where dogs aren't included. I'm sorry. If you don't want them feeling insecure about themselves and looking at themselves in a certain way,
then you have to teach them that. You have to teach them that, like, you know, that you're never ashamed of them. You might not like something they do, whether it's a student or my own girls. You have to make sure you're not instilling that on them. When my oldest wasn't eating dinner, it's just that she wasn't hungry at that time. She was eating. She was a little peanut, so I was worried. I was a first-time parent. Like, she's not eating. Sit down and eat. And my wife, who's of course, she's another social worker, so you can imagine the craziness there. But she's smarter than me. And I'm not just saying that.
She tuned out after you were nice to her before.
No, that's fine. So good. So we lost her. But I will say that she's the brains of the operation when it comes to the parenting part. Okay, the mothers usually are. All right, and it's like, she's like, Jim, don't do that. That's going to give him a complex. She's like, and you know that. You went to fucking school for that. You have kids that you know you're not supposed to, but you're saying it to your own kids. It's like, holy shit. And the majority of kids, before they even touch this, most of their insecurities come from the way they were raised and the exposure they had to their parents. So I'm not just all about social media. I'm also about how you're raising your kids. What did you instill in them? When you were 270 pounds, I'm not going to say that's your parents' fault.
No, it was.
But
it was my father's fault.
Did you feed yourself to fill a void?
Probably.
Yeah. Probably. You don't know.
But he fed me because there was nothing else to do.
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't want to take me out to get exercise because he had MS.
Yeah.
And he was barely hanging on to begin with. This is before he was in a wheelchair full time.
Yeah.
So he would just get a bunch of food for the weekend. He'd be wiped out. He was an iron worker.
Yeah.
He'd be wiped out from working all week. And in the heat or the cold, the extreme temperatures really fucked with the MS.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
So he would just, I literally, this would be our weekend. Friday night, whatever weekend, I'd go see him. We'd go get sushi, and I'm talking like probably 3-4 rolls I'd have as an already overweight little kid.
Yeah.
Then we go get a pint of Ben & Jerry's. And any candy from 7-Eleven for a movie that night.
You're giving me a great Saturday night right now.
Oh, it's great.
But did you enjoy that?
I did because
at the time,
because I've always associated food with happiness. Yeah. So
go on.
Yeah. So I've always associated food with happiness.
Yes.
And it's not just because of battling my own inner demons, but it's because I'm Italian, and during every celebration we have tons of fucking food.
Yes.
And I happen to be a sugar kid, so I love candy and I love ice cream.
Yeah.
So it made it easy. I mean, then on top of that, dinner and dessert and whatever, he would go to sleep early. I'd be playing Xbox all night, online and whatnot, and I'd probably toast off a box of good humor bars.
Oh my god,
the ice cream pops.
Yeah. Oh,
I'd probably toast off like maybe a couple, 2 or 3 of those, and then I'd eat a whole thing of Hot Pockets too.
And he'd be, that's great. Now,
but I'm living a bodybuilder's fucking cheat meal dream. But I was just
but at the same time, you're touching on so many people that are listening right now. When I posted something yesterday, and again, I have 200 followers, so no one's listening, no one cares, but I like putting stuff out there about eating disorders, about body dysmorphia. If you try to figure out why you have these things, you're going to be lost. It's how you deal with it moving forward. Okay, you can listen. I could pinpoint a million reasons why. Like, I eat for comfort. I eat until I'm sick. I looked forward to going to my father's every other weekend because he had all the good food that my mom didn't have. When I say good food, I mean all the junk.
Yeah.
And he fed it until he had his health problems, and then he couldn't do it anymore. And now I'm also a grown-ass man, so I know what's better for me. And the memories I had was getting pizza, then polishing off as much ice cream as we could.
Nice.
And I would play. Well, I was Nintendo because I'm a little older than you. And I looked forward to it, and that's where I found my comfort.
Because it was almost like a naughty vacation getaway from the regularly scheduled programming of being with mom.
And that's the thing, is that my poor mom, okay, who now, moms kind of lose their mind as they get a little older. But you know what? She held it together for me. Dad was not, he was great, but it was just kind of like, well, he supported my athletic career. He's the one who taught me about baseball. Huge part of all that. But like at the same time, he was like, I want this to be the fun place you come to.
Yeah.
Because of my guilt for leaving you guys.
It's a competition, but it isn't.
It is.
But it is.
And my mom knew she lost that competition, but I never let her know that. I always felt bad, And
my mom knew she was losing the competition because I'd constantly come home heavier, and she'd look at me and she's like, "Why don't your fucking clothes fit?"
She's like, "What? How?
A growth spurt, Mom.
How do you weigh 230 pounds?"
She used to say like it would take her about 2 to 3 days to get me back level again because like he would frazzle me so much. Me and my dad argue a lot.
Okay.
Now we don't because I know when to just stop talking to him for a little bit, like hang the phone up. Hey, I'll talk to you later. So now we don't. But back then when I was stuck with him, we would get on each other's nerves a lot because we're very different. I'm very much my mom. I'm like, I think my dad had like 3% to do with me. Like it was all my mom. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I have all my grandfather's genetics, everything, his height, his hair, his calves. It's wild. My dad's 6 foot, I think 6'1". I'm 5'7" on the dot. Yeah. So I'm very.
You're your mom.
I'm very my mom's side of the family to the T, and his side of the family. Not to get too deep into personal, like I don't care personally, but not to dive too deep down the rabbit hole.
We're here.
His family hated my mom because I hated my mom in general, and then they hated me because I was my mom's son.
Wow.
So I used to get consistently abused constantly abused by his side of the family. Like my grandmother used to lock me in the basement because she didn't want me around the other people of the family. Like that's the type of fucking people I grew up with. So when you sit here and you look at how I am today, it's kind of unbelievable that I made it out with my sanity because going through some shit like that where you're as a little kid, you're just not wanted. Yeah. I would buy my father Christmas presents. I don't buy my dad gifts anymore. Yeah. I don't buy my dad gifts anymore because he's unappreciative of everything I try to do for him. And it could be a small little thing I try to get him or give him, and he still will find a way to act like an asshole. My grandmother, I recall one with garbage. It's over there. I mean, it's over there. I remember one Christmas, I got my dad a gift. I forget what it was. It might have been like, whatever, something. And I couldn't find my dad in the house. I think he was outside in the back. And I was running around the house. I was looking for him. And I said to my grandma, I said, I could actually call her the grandmother because my grandma is my mom's side. And my grandfather, who passed away in November, my mom's family, that these are the people that mean the most to me. So they're my grandparents. Yeah. And then it's the grandparents. They're the ones on the other side. So I found her. And I said, do you know where Dad is? I was a little fucking kid. I must have been like 7, 8 years old, if that. She's like, no, your gift made him cry and all this shit. He all this just venomous shit that she's throwing at a little kid. And I ran downstairs bawling out because I thought I upset my father for a Christmas gift. And as the years go on, I bought my dad. This is when I had my girlfriend at the time, back in 2008, 2009. Older, I'm like 19 years old. I buy my dad this beautiful $300 watch at not that the price matters.
Well, then it did, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But $300 watch from Fossil. It was like this mechanical skeleton watch. it was gorgeous.
Love that, yeah.
Brought it for him. He just goes, oh, nice. And my dad's a watch guy. He goes, oh, nice. He puts it away. I look at him. I'm with my girlfriend. I look at him. I go, you're not gonna like wear it, or he's like, no, I'm gonna put it over there. 2 days later, I go to his house with her again, and I say, hey, where's the watch? I said, I'm just wondering where. Oh, I think I left it at Grandma's house. I look at him. I go, you're really a piece of shit. You know that? I said, give me the fucking watch because I know it's here. Yeah. And it was hanging on the door in his basket in his garbage bag from all the wrappings and shit like that. I said, you're so unappreciative, man. It's unbelievable.
Your story is no different than, and I'm not minimizing it. I'm just saying it's how do they expect when they look at this generation? And I'll throw myself in with you now, right? The old man. How the hell they expect us to be ever well adjusted when you had some really maladjusted people raising you or being in your life? Celebrate the fact that you persevered. Celebrate that. I think it's great. I think it's great to, the shit you went through, the shit he's gone through. I didn't go through such a traumatic experience, but I went through relatively speaking, for me. Something that has stayed with me for life, that has led to my own personal eating disorder, my own dysmorphia that I have. So when you bring to light what you went through, like you're touching with probably 90% of whoever's listening right now. Everyone's been through something like that, some worse than others. And I think it's good to say, fuck me, look at me now.
Yeah.
Now, when you start buying the cherry, fire engine red Corvette, all right, is that what the cool thing is now? I don't know. When you're buying,
it's a McLaren. Come on, bro.
Exactly. Bentleys are done.
Yeah.
So when you're doing all that, listen, you're trying to fill a void, but that's not what you're doing. You're a successful businessman right now, all right? Even during COVID, successful businessman. Think about how far you've come. And my position is recognize what you've done to cope and how can you keep coping. All right. And when you fall back into that pattern of like chip on the shoulder, armor up, fuck everybody. All right, what just brought you to this point? How are you going to move forward from that? Okay. Again, that's the therapist in me. So how can you not expect a whole bunch of people living in a fake world right here who are looking like, oh, look, I have texts, I have all these different messages on here, like, oh, people like me.
Yeah.
Of course, you want to fill a void. You're looking for that approval. You're looking for what was missing. The fact that, like, in a way, we're all kind of locked in the basement.
Yeah.
And we don't ever want to be locked in the basement ever again. We want to be here, but you also have to peel back all the shit that's happened to you and really take a long look at what are you doing to cope with it? Healthy, okay? My coping mechanisms have not been healthy. Most kids that I know, it has not been healthy. It has been looking at yourself and saying, I don't like that because that person says this is the way it's supposed to look. I saw John before his last show. I'm like, damn, man, I wish my legs looked like that. But it didn't send me over the edge. But just the other day, I was working out and I looked in the mirror and I'm like, yesterday, I loved the way I look.
Yeah.
Today, I look like shit. And I must be retaining water. Damn it, I ate all that crap last night. I had a coach's summit that I went to and I ate pizza and I drank a bunch of Coronas and I'm killing myself. I look no different than the day before. But I am so hard on myself that no matter how shredded or how big or how strong, it's never enough. I will always see the 250-pound kid with the boobs and the love handles. That's been the hardest part for me. And I still see that with a lot of generations, with a lot of kids. And that's what I'm trying to like get out there right now is like, I've been through it. I know what it's like. I have a career. I have a family. I deal with kids like this every single day. I'm seeing a lot of people lose their way. People I care about, people I love, and just random people too. I'm curious about people. I'm curious about how they work. I'm not saying I have the answer, but at least I can relate. And there's more people than you think that can relate. I have a bunch of friends right now going through a midlife crisis. Dude, I'm halfway to death. And there's something that does happen at about 40 to 45 years old. It's you realize your own mortality. That's some deep shit right there.
I realized that
Yeah.
I had a deep death fear and phobia
Yes.
in
Yeah.
end of middle school, going into high school. That just crippling.
It is.
It was constantly on my mind.
It's irrational, but it's not irrational. All fear to me is irrational because it's fear. But there's something there. There's a reason why. And when you're sitting there and you're questioning faith or you're questioning the existence of God, we will not go there. I'm just saying, it's like, okay, I've lived for 42 years. What have I done with my life? All these wonderful things. But there's a part of me that didn't cope very well that will say, you missed all these opportunities. And you go into what they call crisis mode. Midlife crisis is for real. It usually happens more with men, but women too can have this. And what happens is you realize that your body will never be the same. My hairline will never be the same. I'm on the back end going downhill physically. So I'm doing everything I can to kind of maintain or just look the best I can. And granted, I'll have a good 20 years of that. I'll be okay if I take good care of myself. And then when you're 60, you're not in crisis anymore. You're kind of like, I'm on the way downhill. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my life. But at 40, you're really, it's like I had all these opportunities. Where did they go? Where did they go? No, I'm not thinking about it constantly, but it really fucks with your mind. It really does. So when you feel that way, when you feel inadequate, when you feel like, what have I done? Am I worth anything to anybody? You then start picking apart yourself. And it doesn't happen to everybody, but that's the dysmorphia. Dysmorphia is exactly in the word. Look, you don't see, it's a distorted view of what you are. And you're using your physical characteristics to like give yourself some self-worth. My arms aren't big enough. My veins aren't popping out. My lats aren't big enough. And that's what bodybuilders have to go through.
Yeah.
All right? I'm no longer on a stage with a judge picking me apart, but on here,
that stage never goes away.
it doesn't. And do I really, at the end of the day, I honestly don't give a shit. Like, I mean, I'm to a point where I can kind of laugh it off if anybody were to insult me, which is not many people because, again, I'm not some public figure. So, we got to stop with small time folk like me. Stop putting yourself out there like you are this bigger than life personality. Okay? And then taking offense to what people are saying and getting immersed in other people's problems, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're creating something that you don't need, and you're trying to fill a void.
Yeah,
and it only goes one way, and that's all fucking downhill.
It's a slippery slope.
Yeah,
and it sucks. It sucks. So I'm at a point now where, and I'll give my own disclosure on this, where I don't know if I'll ever be 100%. It's an everyday struggle. My eating disorder, yes, I have an eating disorder, a terrible one. My relationship with food, no matter what shape I'm in, whether I'm 250 or 200, it doesn't have anything to do with whether or not you're overweight. And it's also, a lot of people lose weight, is I'll fast. I won't starve myself, but that's the only way I can get through the day without thinking about food. Once what I call breaking the seal, when you drink and you go piss, I broke the seal. Once I break the seal, I already ate today. I normally don't eat till about 6 o'clock, or I do a post-meal workout. And then I do my 6 hours of eating. That's what works for me. It genuinely works, okay? But if there's a day where I eat too early, then I have this fuck it attitude, and I end up eating things that I know are going to make me sick. And then it puts me in a terrible mood. It affects my family. It affects me. I had peanut butter before. Peanut butter is like, what's wrong with that? When I have too much peanut butter, I get sick. I break out in hives.
Oh, really?
I get swollen fingers. I'm allergic to it. Not in a terrible way. I'm not anaphylactic.
Yeah.
But I eat it anyway
But
because
it's enough to cause discomfort.
Yeah.
it's there, but it gives me the comfort when I need
Discomfort
a quick fix.
and comfort.
Oh, yeah. It gives me the quick fix. I'll eat an entire Domino's pie. When people glorify my cheat meal day.
Christ.
Yes. Well, I've done it. I'm sorry. I'm guilty of it.
I know.
But that is what you're watching is me at a very low point,
A weak point.
and I'm putting it out there, and I'll actually say on there that this is not good. People are like, that's impressive, and I'm actually not in it for the likes. Like, hey Jim, oh my God, that's crazy. This guy can. Yeah, I used to win eating contests because I'm addicted to food, and I would eat until I got distended and sick. And yeah.
The honesty you have there is really important because people need to post about that, being honest, saying, look, there's something wrong. You shouldn't be eating this much. Where you have people glorifying those 10,000, 20,000 calorie cheat meals, making some 130-pound kid think, well, I got to eat this much, and they'll end up fucking choking to death.
I've filmed.
Yeah.
I've
Basically,
filmed,
what you get hit on the head.
I've filmed those cheat meals. They're not that great.
No.
They're disgusting.
They're
and
disgusting.
And you really sit there, and I was watching this individual. Everyone knows who it is. I was watching this individual, and I was getting sick for him. And I just said, you got to stop,
But
man.
he goes so deep into it. And it's not just him. I will say I'm guilty as well. Again, I'm not the professional. He is. He can do it. But when I'm sitting there with the 2 boxes of cereal that I say I'm going to eat, I end up forcing myself because I'm like, I have to do this. Not because people are watching, because that's the point I get to. That's my disorder, though, is I will eat until I'm sick. And that's the only thing that gives me comfort. And then when I'm sitting there and going like, why did I do that? It doesn't matter. The process is, if you ever watch that documentary, Super Size Me, the guy who eats McDonald's for 30 days, he even tells you there's an addiction. There's an addiction there. And the more you eat while you're eating, your serotonin levels are through the roof. It is the equivalent to shooting up heroin. That is a fact. Okay, you can do the research on it. I didn't bring it in with me. It is not heroin.
Check his bag, Kenji. Check his fucking bag.
Check the comment section.
It is not heroin. But the amount of the endorphin and serotonin release is exactly the same. And that's where the addiction is. And for me, and that's just me, but that happens to a lot of people and they don't know it. When you see somebody who's 304, who is morbidly obese, okay, they're honestly no different than what I'm doing. They're not. And then the unhealthy part is, then I'm like really obsessing over calories to the point where I'm obsessing and I'm losing too much weight.
So 2 points. Did you have something to say?
No.
Okay, I just want to make sure. So 2 points. One, we get into the sport to be healthy, or to try to be healthy. And there's a lot of different factors that go into it that make it unhealthy. And I think eating is one of the bigger points that stands out to me when I think of how unhealthy bodybuilding and the fitness industry is as a whole.
Take steroids out of the mix.
Taking steroids out of the mix.
Take it out of the mix, because as unhealthy as that can be.
Yes.
Eating. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I agree. That's actually
Absolutely.
what I was saying. That's what I was saying when I think that's the other piece that makes it very unhealthy. But when I think of, I prepped for 23 weeks, and I was
Brutal.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I did it naturally too. And
Yeah.
it was very difficult.
I'm there.
Yeah, it was very difficult, and it was, it took a lot out of me. But to be so strict on my diet, and to have somebody tell me 6 ounces of this, 1 cup of this, 6 ounces of this, 1 cup of this, and by the time Saturday would come or Sunday, I would get my cheap meal. I used to go to all-you-can-eat sushi. Now, if I show you the tray that I would eat by myself, you will know that I can sympathize with you with eating until you're sick. I would eat there's like no words for it. Just a fuck ton of sushi.
That's a good way to describe it.
Plus dessert, plus everything. I actually wouldn't be able to move when I got back to my dorm. That's how stuffed my stomach would be. That it would hurt to shift around and move.
Yes.
I have a friend currently who will go unnamed. I don't think he listens to the show as much as he says he is. So you know what? Fuck him. I'm gonna tell you his name right now. I have a friend who will go unnamed, who wanted to make a change. He made a little bet with Tyler and myself about losing weight for a month and this and that. Tyler and I didn't take it seriously at first. We didn't really jump into it. I've been waiting for Rogue to ship my fucking rack. Rogue, don't send the check. Send my fucking rack, because I want to squat at my house already.
Oh, God.
But we were supposed to start a little sooner. Tyler and I just started this week. Whatever. This friend did a prep as well.
Tyler from Pump House?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good kid.
I'm very friendly with Tyler.
Yeah.
So this person did a prep, and they were obsessed during their prep. And when I say obsessed, I mean nervous when they were weighing their food out if it was going to be an over a little bit.
They don't want to chew gum because they're afraid of what it might do.
That's the type of person.
Yes, I know.
I actually had to yell at him a couple of times and tell him, eat a fucking cheat meal because you are getting sick mentally. And you need to just mentally have a cheat meal, not just stay on this diet all the time. He started tracking his macros again, which kind of brought him down that hole of having a mental disorder with food when he prepped. It was a couple weeks ago. He came to my house to train, and he's like looking at himself in the mirror, asking me all these questions. How do I look at it? And I told him, I said, you don't have a lot of muscle. You haven't for years. You don't train like I do at Bev's. where I have a decent foundation. So when I start to lose fat, everything rounds off a little bit and I look better.
Yeah.
I said, you need to really start. I said, you also send me food posts 50 times a day. I hope you understand that you're mentally getting fucked up again and you're obsessing over that one day that you're allowing yourself to eat. I said, you have to stop because you're really fucking yourself up again. Every day. And he hasn't sent it to me in the last week because he understood.
Yeah. Now
Every day.
What's his goal?
He wants to lose weight, which he did. He looks great for right now, but he's starving himself.
But why? Why does he want to look like that?
Well, it's not that he wants to look like the way he's looking right now.
Yeah.
He wanted to look like he's in better shape.
Why
All of us have let ourselves go
Yeah,
because of the quarantine.
Yeah.
However, I'm the heaviest out of all of them. I also have the most muscle mass out of all of them.
Yeah.
So I hold my weight a little bit better.
Yeah.
Where they definitely show it a
you
little
don't
bit
you don't
more.
look like you're out of shape.
I don't
Right.
look completely out of shape. I do from certain areas, like my lower love handles. That's really where I hold my weight.
Yeah.
Everywhere else stays genuinely leaner.
Yeah.
But he's losing the weight, but now he's getting that skinny fat look. And he's not fat, but he just doesn't have enough mass to be counteracting it. So, but the main point is he's getting to that point again mentally where we all get in prep, where you fantasize about the food you're going to eat when you're done competing.
Oh my god!
And how listen, man, I used to my roommates used to come back to that. My roommates used to come back to the room and they'd hear me in my room going, "Oh shit." They would walk in, "What are you watching? Porn?" I'd be watching the Food Network. I'd be watching all
Might
the
as well
Food
be.
Network shows.
Yeah.
And I was obsessed. And I made like a running list of over 100 restaurants I was going to eat at after I was done with my show. Yeah. And then I wound up rebounding so bad that I didn't eat anywhere. I ate at like 3 spots and then that was it. And then I had to worry about getting the fucking weight off again.
Exactly.
So it's just, when you talk about food and mental disorders.
It's deprivation too. He's depriving himself.
Yeah.
I mean,
anything.
Listen, Tyler and I are doing the that Andy Frisella, 75, whatever. 70,
Awesome.
75 days, whatever.
Yeah.
No booze, no cheat meals, no this and that.
It's great.
I'm going to alter it to my own.
Yeah.
I'm still going to probably fucking have a cheat meal once a week. I'm going to drink when I want, but I'm holding myself accountable again. I'm tracking my macros. I'm getting, I like I said, I like macros because they allow me, and I used to not be like that. My old coach, who will go unnamed because he's a fuckhead, my old coach used to give me pre-done meal plans.
We'll call him Coach Fuckhead.
Coach Fuckhead,
Coach Fuckhead.
which is actually kind of close to his name anyway. Anyway.
Yeah.
So he used to give me pre-done meals. And I used to have to convince myself that I could live like that forever. I could live like eating this way, 6 ounces here. Blah, blah, blah. You can't. It's not sustainable. You have to have flexibility.
Thank you for saying that. I don't mean to interrupt you. But like you're hitting the nail on the head because you just said it. I can live this life.
I used to
What
try
life?
to talk myself
Yeah.
into
Yeah,
it.
like
The deprivation life.
You have to do this all the time.
I said to myself all the time, I could eat chicken every day and turkey and make my meals. And
But I've been there. I bet you've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there. We've been there where we're saying like, no, this is the way it has to be. Because, you know, it has to be this way for the rest of my life. Like, I have to be this way or else I'm going to look like that again.
yeah, or
Yeah.
I'm going to gain weight astronomically and
then a fear.
be horribly
Yep.
out of shape.
And then the cycle of, you know, whatever, insert whatever disorder right there is just going to keep going.
And I have to
right
show you. I'll have to show you something because it's archived because I don't keep a lot of my shit out anymore. But that's why when I got to my second coach, who was a doctor, and I always say it every time he comes up, I want to get him on the podcast. He's fucking unbelievable. He's just an unbelievable human being, super straight to the point. Like I sent him progress pictures, he'd go, "Oh shit, you look like a fatty girl." He'd be like, "We gotta cut back on this, or we gotta do that."
I like him already.
Yeah, he's a no bullshitter. He's like, "I'm not gonna push you into the show if you're not ready. If you're not ready, we're not doing it. I'm just letting you know." But when I got to him and he taught me macros, I was super nervous because I never was able to eat a Pop-Tart or in the middle of the day and justify I can have those 30 grams of carbs
Or
for right
put
now.
salt on anything.
Yeah.
Or seasoning. I used to never put
Jeez.
seasoning on anything.
Thank you.
So
ketchup.
yeah, so he opened my mind up. And then when I started seeing the results of allowing my body to eat food, but I'm still training my ass off because I wasn't ever originally. It made a huge just difference not only my physique but my mentality.
Pretty
But then
amazing.
I kind of became obsessed in the terms of every gram had to be weighed, and every gram going into my body, and everything had to be tracked and this and that. And then he told me, you need to stop. You have to chill. He said, go for another next month or two without tracking anything. He goes, eyeball it for your own mental sanity.
Yeah. And how do you feel?
Well, I know right now I'm doing the tracking because it really lets me hold myself accountable. But I'm also flexible with my tracking. Like my mom made an egg white and spinach.
There has to be some accountability.
Yeah,
It's okay to
yeah.
track.
She made this whole big container of egg whites, spinach, and like some sausage in there. Regular, no nitrate sausage. So I put like that's equivalent to half a cup of spinach and 4 egg whites. Old Nick would need to know the exact amount of everything in it. So even though I'm tracking now,
It's a good coach.
Yeah.
Thanks, good.
I mean, even though I'm tracking now, not tracking my food for 2 years and having him make me not track anything saved me mentally.
That's great.
Because I was swinging from one obsession to the next, and he kind of pushed me into the middle again.
What are you going to show me?
I'm going to show you just the difference of when he started to actually just fucking feed me.
Now, also, you said you did it naturally, right?
Yeah.
That's what's so hard about this whole thing, is keeping muscle naturally. It's all food.
Yep.
And that's what makes it harder for a guy like me.
That's why I work with the
trying to exactly.
That's why I work with the doctor.
You hit the nail on the head. It's not easy when you're not relying on gear to help you. And to keep muscle mass, it's all food. But if you're not able to, work the type of food that's supposed to be in there, for me, I'm not a carbs guy. Too many carbs, forget about it.
Me too.
I'm bloated. I gain weight. I become pre-diabetic. You know? So I realized I have a natural muscle base that can stay a certain way while I cut weight. And, you got to figure it out. It takes years to do that. What's the matter? What's going on there?
This is 10 months between the photos. 10 months between the photos. The first photo is my coach that had me on all basic ass. Should we put this up on the video when I do this?
Yeah.
So I'll take a screenshot so I have it. Basic ass. Here's your meal 1, meal 2, meal 3. Never feeding me, never letting me go outside the norm. And I was doing about an hour of cardio a day on the stairs.
Which sounds typical.
Yeah, typical.
Yeah.
This is like an off season. The next one is my other coach got me up to 600 grams of carbs a day, maintaining my body weight.
No, I'm thinking about myself. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. No,
Yeah,
I'm not saying he's wrong.
No.
But
Maintaining my body weight at 600 grams of carbs a day.
Yeah.
15 minutes of cardio a day, and that was HIIT cardio. Just that.
Yeah.
That was the difference. The doctor's on the right, obviously. 10 months between them.
Wow.
I look like I'm on juice. I look like I took a cycle.
You do. Well, you definitely have the natural something that it takes me fucking 25 weeks of dieting just to get.
And that was off season. Those
That's
are both.
great.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
And the weight is. I think I'm 10 pounds heavier than the one on the right.
I'm going to tell you now. When I reintroduce when I say carb, that's a great job. When I say carbs are my enemy, I need to retract that statement. I started to eat more carbs. The more recently, I've looked better, but than I ever had because it's helped me keep the muscle mass that I normally would lose. It just my cuts weren't these shredded, that I was trying to get. The only time I got shredded was for my 2 shows. And I had to kill myself to get to that point.
It's a lot.
It sucks, and it's not normal.
Not worth it.
It's not natural. Whether it's natural or not, it's not. You're not supposed to look like that. And that's the other thing is that these guys do it for a fucking living. We don't. We dabble in it. Okay. I still think you could make a career out of it, but you know what? You're taking the smart route. You're not trying to kill yourself.
I'm doing it because I love it, but
yeah.
A big comparison I make now is, after I spent all the time with Dorian, there's nothing astronomical that changed with food or training. So all that happened, people were amped up to the gear.
Yeah.
And guess what? There's going to be another level of athletes where they amp up the gear again. People aren't having kids anymore. We see the deaths in bodybuilding now. It's fucking crazy.
I had to come off for 6 months so I can have kids, and I'm like, congratulations! Like what?
Great.
Good for you.
You want a pat on the back?
I'm glad. I'm glad that some of them have kids, and some of them are great family men. I will always talk about Flex Lewis. What if?
Absolutely.
I fucking love him, but you're putting yourself and the gear does that.
It's just not worth it.
That's not worth it. And I'm not trying to pass judgment on anybody. That's definitely not. And I see the professionals that do it. I won't judge them because that's their craft.
Absolutely.
Dorian's great. Dorian Yates, for I'm sure everyone knows who you're talking about. You had the chance to spend a week with him in Spain. That is a fucking dream come true for me.
Yeah.
But he is also the man that really put things into perspective for me on how to eat and how to train. And he's the one that said, like, there comes a time where he's like, if I wasn't bodybuilding, I wouldn't touch this stuff. Think about, like, what's your why? If your why is to look good, okay, then what's the next why? Why do you want to look like that? You know, is it to go on stage and win? Cool, good. We'll keep it at that. But if you're not going on stage, is it to, you know, feel better about yourself? That's okay too.
Yeah.
The amount of guys that I've heard take a cycle just to look good for the summer. It's like you're actually
you're
actually a fucking asshole.
I always like the Rich Piana approach at it, where when he was competing, he was talking about, I was putting 100% into this, did everything I could, he did 11 meals a day, blah blah blah.
And he knew,
and I was getting nothing back. I was getting nothing out of it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
11 meals.
So
a day.
I saw that I was putting everything I could into it, looking around and seeing how they really treated the athletes, and go, even if I went pro one day, which I'm
it's
sure
a money pit.
Yeah. Congrats, you're a pro. You owe us $1,200 for a pro card.
Exactly. It's the only profession where, well, besides social worker, you have to pay for your licensure, you know, and continue to pay for it.
Because it's a business.
With your life, I think. And again, you know, I love the bodybuilding. I love the bodybuilding industry. I have my reservations about other divisions in bodybuilding. I love classic physique. I love physique. I'm a physique competitor, or was.
Yeah.
I love all that stuff, and I admire it. Just the generation of unhealthy kids that are coming out of this right now, who I've seen, you know, at 18 years old, who are hopped up on gear, and now
we talk about this all the time. It's crazy.
It's absolutely insane.
We literally send messages back and forth to each other on Instagram.
Your first episode was Arash. Was he the first episode?
First guest, yeah.
First guest. First guest. And and he's my age. I'm 40. I think he's 42.
I think he's 40 or 41.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, something like that.
So I remember him. That's where you guys sucked me in right away. Because it was like, oh my God, this is great, because he talked about how, you know, when he was that age, you know, he wanted to look a certain way. He was very honest and very real about it. And then he's like, it's creating a completely different. They're getting away from the basics. They're thinking, take gear first, get big later. You know what?
Quite the opposite.
Oh my God!
Yeah. You're gonna put a whole house on you're gonna put a whole house on a shitty foundation. Fuck no.
Exactly.
I had this exact conversation with a kid literally 2 days ago. Yeah. Where whatever, he was messaging me on Instagram like,
preach it, Panetti. Let's go.
I'm gonna start going to the gym and whatever. I was helping him out here and there. He was saying like, well, I don't weigh my food or anything. He's like, what cycle should I do? I go, how long have you been lifting? He's like, 6 months. I go, exactly.
Now I'm curious. What'd you tell him?
I said, all right, you need 1,000 milligrams a test.
Oh my God.
A day. No, but
an hour.
Jesus Christ.
You might shoot through all the drywall in your house.
Fuck shots. You need an IV going up testosterone 24 hours a day.
You carry it around like a patient.
Get a testicle replacement.
Just have the bag always.
Yeah.
No, but I was talking to him about it. I'm like, look, man, your nutrition isn't on point yet. You've been doing this for 6 months. The kid's pretty lean, just genetically a lean guy. I go, how about you get your diet on track for another year? Fucking perfect, spot on. Not that you're not going to cheat, but start really being accountable for it. And if you really want to do the gear, then, you know, maybe we'll talk and we'll figure it out. But let's get your fundamentals down before we start playing.
And he might not
fire.
even want to do it because if you get him to a good point, he might not want to do it.
What else? I go, look, do you want to make a career out of this? No. What do you want to do? Well, I'm in school for this. Is it worth it? For you, is it worth it?
Yeah. And that's the thing is I don't want to pass judgment here because, again, a lot of your listeners are people that take.
Absolutely.
And that's fine. And that's fine to each their own.
We've always had the philosophy. It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. You do you.
Just do it safely.
And if you're not, then that's on you. And you're first of all, you're doing an illicit drug. It's illegal. And you know, there are people who are going to jail, not for using it, but for selling it. So you got to be careful of that stuff. You know, and I understand, like, you know, the things I hear and, you know, that there's like this whole dark underworld of it. And it's so funny because I don't know anybody in that world. I just know people that take it.
Well, that was like a side note when I would constantly have my first coach send me meal plans. I was obviously getting other people's meal plans because he would send it to me and there'd be drugs on it. And I go, I don't know how many times I have to tell you, I'm doing this naturally.
Oh my God.
And he go, oh, okay, take that out, just do an hour of cardio or something like that. So I'd look at him, I'd look at the message and I'd email him back. I go, by the way, you send this to me like so nonchalantly. Where am I supposed to get this? Am I supposed to go to CVS? You guys have Clen? You guys sell this here?
Oh my God.
Like, where do you think you think I just know somebody to just get this shit?
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Go to the gym and go, hey man, you got this? I don't know. My coach sent me this fucking list. I don't even know what it is.
But that's the thing is that firsthand. The first time somebody approached me, that's when I knew I was doing something right, because I had some mook at what is it, the one in Deer Park, the not ProFit, Retro in Deer Park. Hey man, and it was so like exactly as I imagined it. He's like, hey man. Who do you know? Hey, I know this guy. And I'm like, what the fuck? You know, like I've watched movies on this stuff, you know? And it's not talked about. It's not. Dorian Yates is the one that really was like the one. He's like, oh, I went in the gym and the guy came up to me and he said, you know, I'm sorry, that's Australian. Yeah. He says, some bloke come up to me and he says, here, take this. And it's like, holy shit, is that how it happens? And then when I talked to some of my friends,
they threw it at him like a dart from across the gym. Oh my God, I feel strong.
I feel great.
But like, where do these people? Where do they come from? And that's what, like, you know, I hear people.
They're ex-stockbrokers.
Exactly. Like, this guy, I used to make it. I'm like, what do you mean you used to make it? How do you make that stuff? Like,
well, you know, everybody's been wondering in my development why I just created a bull farm in our parking lot and I corral livestock.
They're all jacked.
Yeah, they're all jacked. They're Belgian blue bulls. I'm just extracting it from the source.
Well, it's now test replacement therapy is something that I eventually, if not soon, is something that it's real for me. You want to talk about midlife crisis?
I'm glad we got him in here before
35.
he takes that, because then he puts his arms down on the table, the whole fucking thing would fall apart.
No. Midlife crisis has had me like, I know my father has looked into it, and he was going to a wellness clinic for a little while, and apparently you got to be on it for life. And it's like I hear about the amount of that they're given as opposed to a professional bodybuilder.
Oh, it's astronomical.
Oh my God.
Astronomical.
Listen, I'm not going to act stupid. I know there's a huge difference.
Yeah.
But like
it's
when
wild.
I saw the actual difference, I'm like, that's insane. But if it means that like my mood will be better, you know, and we're talking about testosterone.
Yeah, TRT.
Yeah,
TRT. Thank you. Yeah.
So I've actually spoken to a lot of older guys at Bevs, especially that do it, and from what I understand and from what they've said, it's like the fountain of youth. You just feel light years different for an older guy.
Too, low T is way more dangerous than having regular level of testosterone.
Yeah.
People used to think, well, your levels are normal for a 60-year-old man. Well, the levels of a 60-year-old man aren't healthy.
Yeah. Well,
And now here's the full circle plug. You hit up Dr. Elise, and she runs all your fucking panels for you.
That when
and then if you do actually have low T, then you get then you know you actually need it.
She's the one where I was just like, maybe I should go check that out, because
I sent somebody to her recently.
For the longest time, awesome. I'm like, I know it's low. I know it is. Ever since I was 35 is when I really started to get into the best shape of my life. So I realized like the food is what has helped me. So, you know, all that stuff aside, like I'm sorry I just came on, you know, in public and be like, hey, where can I score? No, but like a wellness clinic, or like, you know, a doctor saying like, hey, this is what you need to do. I might take a look at that, because it's, to me, that's, if it's necessary, if you got to do it, you got to do it.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a natural function for males.
And if my boys aren't working anymore, like, you know, I want to know.
Yeah.
And because I'm sitting here, I've gone for blood tests for other stuff, and it's like, hey, your blood counts this, your blood counts that, everything's perfect. Well, then what the hell's going on?
Well, they don't run tests.
Hell
you
no.
have to ask them to.
And that's what I'm going to do.
Even if they the caveat is, even if they do run that for you, they're just going to give you a random number, and they might not really articulate what that means for you.
Yeah.
That's when a guy like my coach, a guy like Elise comes in. They have software that they put it into, and it runs based off the vials and specific tests they asked you to get.
Wow.
It runs all kinds of various
Mm-hmm.
micro tests, we can call them, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
where it really pinpoints based on all your statistics what your. I mean, my coach can come down to like the minute how much deficient I am in a certain vitamin.
Yeah.
Like his
Mm-hmm.
I anytime I got blood work done, which is super fucking rare. Anytime I got blood work done, I have them send him the results, and he runs it through his computer and tells me what I should know.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I mean, I'm down for that because I'm ready to at least, I know what a normal level is. It's between 300 and 1200. That means nothing to me other than like, Lord knows what the hell I have.
Yeah, I was at 7 something.
Okay,
and that was
that's
at, but
normal.
that was in 2014, 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm if I go and I test and it's like, they say if it's anything over 3, this is like the general rule. Anything over 3, then you're just, you have enough. And it's like, do I? So that's why I would like to go to somebody
not for
who
somebody
specializes in
like you that trains
Yeah.
heavy.
And I'm not talking about the guy in the locker room. I'm talking about somebody like an actual doctor who does that.
Mhm.
So I think it's worth it because we're not talking about an illicit drug. We're not talking about an underground thing here. Something that you guys don't have to worry about. At least I hope not. At
Mhm.
least not yet. And I think that a lot of people that when they get to a certain point where it's like, hey, 35 is your downhill.
Yeah.
It's not your midlife crisis, but it's your downhill, and that's when back problems start. That's when
It started at 35. Fuck, I've had it. God damn, I guess my spine's just gonna come
Oh
out.
shit! Obesity for years can definitely do that. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, well, listen, and then I have to go back to what's my why? Why do I need to do that? For me, it's for self-preservation. It's for I want to be able to function. When I had my second child, I was 35. I was 230 pounds, which for me, I have a small frame, okay? Meaning like small hands, small bones,
Mhm.
small wrists, small feet, okay? But I was 230 pounds of just mush, pre-diabetic. I remember we were about to go away on vacation. My doctor's like, you better not eat anything bad on vacation. You're about to be a diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I had to make that change. I really wish that I got a test. Something that I could have done. And my why, the reason why I had to do that was I wanted to be able to get up in the middle of the night, carry my child while she was crying to put her back to sleep, or if my wife was not home, to be able to not have to be like, I got a nap and there's a baby, and a 4-year-old, so it was for a functional reason. It was for a valid reason
Mm-hmm.
that, I had to start, living a healthier lifestyle. And then the old feelings crept back in when I started looking good. I started getting abs. That's when the whole like, oh, I'm going to join Instagram now.
Mhm.
So it all came full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we're all arrogant, wannabe bodybuilders, social figures.
But people forget about the little thing of you want to be able to, hold your kid at night and make sure you're okay carrying them. Just don't want to be there for your kids. You want to be there in 10 years.
Yeah.
You know?
And I'm not saying, well, I better go hop myself up on some test and whatever.
Right.
But if it's for longevity, and that's what they call them longevity centers.
Mhm.
For longevity. It's really what it is. If your body's going to function a certain way, you have low test, you don't digest as well, your thyroid doesn't function as well.
Way more prone to cancer.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So I mean, again, it's food for thought. Is this something that the adolescents listening to this are going to worry? No.
No, they're not worried about it.
They're not. And
Even though it should be, ingested as forewarnings.
if you don't want to
Mhm.
worry about it, don't start that shit or do it at all. I mean, if you have a goal, I've seen some,
Mhm.
some younger bodybuilders, like yourself. I'm not going to,
Right.
put you on blast here and be like, you're hopped up on this, that, and the other. But like,
Hey, that's true.
you have,
He's hopped up
That's
on.
the
He's hopped up
truth.
on
Hey,
something.
that's the truth.
no, but like,
Yeah.
you listen. You have your career. You
Mhm.
have a good but like somebody, like John, who could really, he has the frame for it, but he knows what it takes, and it would take a lot of damage
to the
him
system.
at this
Mhm.
age. Look at God, who's the guy who just died a few years ago?
Which one?
Yeah, exactly.
Dallas McCarver.
Sucks. Yeah.
Dallas McCarver. Dallas McCarver one of the nicest dudes from everything I heard. I didn't know him personally, obviously.
I didn't either, but I was with Flex a week after he died.
Yeah, so you can imagine. I heard he was one of like the nicest dudes. 28 years old.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
no my age. He was 25 at the time.
Ooh, okay.
Right. Yeah.
So he was 25, and the guy was 1 or 2 years away from probably being, a top 3, if not already. He was already top
2.
6.
He was
He
2, I
did
believe.
get 2 at the
Yeah,
Olympia.
second, yeah.
Yeah, but he passed out. He collapsed on
Yeah, I remember that.
on stage
Yeah.
twice.
And if that wasn't a forewarning, I'm sorry, but death by choking, no. You died.
That's what hit me hard when
Yeah.
they started saying shit like that. And
Rich Piana, he fell. No.
we didn't.
He didn't. These guys, and Rich knew his time was coming to an end.
Yes.
Yeah.
it bothers me when they start sugarcoating shit like that.
Yeah.
It bothers me when they start.
They're covering up their own insecurities of addiction.
Correct. And, somebody passes out on stage twice. My opinion.
That's hard work.
You cycle him off of that shit and
Yeah.
let him rest. You don't have him come back to camp and push more shit in his system.
We look at Chris Bumstead, too, who already has liver problems, and he's still doing
Well,
it.
he says he has liver problems
wonder
because he's always had it. I don't believe that.
It's hereditary.
Yeah.
Listen, Chris, you're an awesome competitor. You're one of the most freakiest physique athletes I've ever seen. Well, classic physiques I've ever seen. But like, you have a liver problem. You said liver problem.
Yeah.
Stop now.
And if you hear
Fucking
this,
stop
if you
now.
hear this, let me know.
Yeah, if you hear this, let
Yeah.
us know. Come on the
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
Seriously,
We'll
like
talk about
and if I understand that's their livelihood, you try telling somebody like, "Hey, you're making 6 figures, and this is what you need to do. You're your own billboard, and you're your own, So you tell somebody, well, you can't do that anymore, and even when they're going to pay the price of their own life, and they'll still do it. That's addiction. And that comes back to another, like, why the fuck you doing this? Again, it's and then look what happens to the former bodybuilders. Okay, I'm going to say it right now. Ronnie Coleman is the saddest thing I've ever seen.
I met him with Kai at the Arnold last year.
It's sad.
It was rough. It was rough
He
to.
needs to stop.
It was rough to shake his hand and like look him in the eye. I just felt bad. I just felt like this is a man who was was the king of the jungle, and now he
still
crippled.
wants to be.
Yeah.
And he's just like, he has screws in his spine. He has hip replacement, knee replacement. And, my doctor says I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm doing it anyway. I got to get that work in. No,
Does he
you
do
are
that?
on
Does
a
he do that?
worker. You're on a walker.
Oh God.
You're on a walker and you're doing leg press on a walker. And it's sad. It's not because, hang it up, old man. No, you could have dignity for the next 40 years if you last that long.
8-time Mr. Olympia.
Or keep training. Just
Right?
do it
8 or
smart.
7. 8 or
Do it
7.
smart.
Go to physical therapy, not, load up.
8-time
He's
Mr.
8.
Olympia, right?
Yeah, 8.
He's 8. Yeah, him and Lee Haney.
You
are
literally
the
have
two.
nothing else to prove.
You have nothing else to prove. And, and it's like, it's sad. And I think the best success story, Jay Cutler's great. I love him to death. Great dude. I don't know if he's still taking care of himself, but he's still pretty big. The guy could probably step on stage if he wanted to, but he's looking at Dorian Yates. He is, the guy smokes weed every day. Good for him. He's doing yoga. He's taking care of himself.
Yeah.
He does not touch any of that stuff. He doesn't need to. He came to a place where he's like, not only did I hang it up, but I want to live. Lee Haney, same thing. Lee Haney looks amazing. He looked amazing for 20 years, but the guy's taking care of himself. But now you're seeing all these guys die off.
Who's the dude that had an amputation recently? Cormier? No.
Flex Wheeler.
Flex
Wheeler. That's
Flex
who it
Wheeler.
was.
That was weird.
Cormier's a fucking fighter.
Yeah.
That's
What the fuck am I talking
weird,
about?
though. And he just did a show last year, too.
Yeah.
He did a physique. He was classic physique.
Do we know what that was stemmed from?
I don't know.
I'm not
Honestly,
sure. I don't know.
if you're getting an amputation, you have poor blood flow, and that could be diabetes to liver to kidneys. That could be anything. And I will guarantee you, if it's a pre-existing condition, whatever he put in his body did not help it. Again, this isn't a steroids bashing session. It's just
No, not at all. And you know what?
You gotta
At
face
the same
facts.
time, too, if you want, I do it, I'm not competing anymore. Why? Because you know what? I enjoy it. I like going to the gym. I like lifting heavy, but I'm going to be as smart as I possibly can with it.
Yeah.
And
I've learned. I've actually learned a lot from you.
Yeah,
Not
thank
that
you.
you're some
Thank
guru
you.
with that, but
Yeah.
because I'm curious. I'm just like, what do you know?
But you know what?
how do
Pick
you
your,
do it?
pick your poison. I'm not going to go out and drink. I'm not going to go do the drugs.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go eat shit. But if I want to have a little bit more fun in the gym, fuck it. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah,
You know what I mean?
No, exactly.
But understand what you're putting in your body and do it the safest way possible.
Yeah,
You can't let your ego get ahead of you with that.
And you're seeing guys who are like, the more I take, the better it is, and it's like, holy shit.
The more you take, the more you look like a pepperoni pizza.
I have yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, I want you to say that.
Sure.
But there's actually an article that says Sean Ray reveals why Flex Wheeler had his amputation. And Sean Ray said, this is not
Is he a
something...
spokesperson? You know, all right, go ahead,
guess.
I'm sorry.
This is not something that happened overnight. It's been an ongoing struggle and continuous battle for Flex. It has a lot more to do with his circulatory vascular system than it does to do with just his lower extremities. He'd been in excruciating pain for a long time, even back before he made his infamous comeback 2 years ago. And this was in December of 2019, so this past December. So with that being a consistent problem and with him operating with one kidney already, it got to a point, Dave, where earlier this year he was hospitalized for 3 months, put into an induced coma while they went in there.
He was in trouble.
And did some exploratory vein realignment type work and solve the problem. And
it didn't.
It obviously did not.
And again, great dude, great career.
Yeah, I mean, but listen, this is the risk that you play. But
this is why we're here today. We're talking about like the extremes that people are putting themselves through for the sake of what? Again, and this is these guys' careers. This is not ours. All right. And you're saying that you take it and and it's for your reasons, and you say you feel that you're doing it the right way. Fucking more power to you. My best friend takes it. He's also trying to compete right now.
Exactly. That's why I make it.
I'm not going to judge him.
One thing is, that's why I make it so known that I do it. I'm not going to sit there boasting about it. But if somebody wants guidance to ask me genuinely, hey, how do I do this safely? I'd rather be able to give that information instead of have somebody hurt themselves because they don't know. Because who do you ask?
I think that's
who do you ask?
That's a responsible thing to do. I mean, if they're going to do it, that's you might as well do it.
Pick
the
up as
right
much knowledge
way.
as you can from somebody who does it, not from Google.
Oh, I was obsessed with like Googling stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, this is I see this, and you become like, for somebody that is, I'm not going to say I'm obsessed, but again, the dysmorphia that I have, you can see why people easily, and yours for your own reasons, but for some, it's not just vanity, it is their self-esteem. And why are you willing to put yourself in danger if you're not doing it the right way, without guidance, and you're not even stepping on stage? I know a few younger gentlemen from the gym who are like, I gotta get into shape by this Friday. I'm gonna take this, and this, and I'm like, well, what the fuck? Those are illicit diuretics.
You should have that 10 Fridays ago.
Geriatric diuretics that 85-year-olds have to take so they don't die of a heart attack. They're putting this shit in their body so they could piss out everything that's underneath their skin just to get a few extra veins popping out.
To go to a party where they're going to go get drunk, take more diuretics, and they're going to destroy their kidneys.
Oh my God.
It goes one level up. Always does.
I took dandelion root and that shit made me piss like a racehorse. What
did I take? I took MHP Expel.
Yeah. Oh, stuff was great.
That Expel is strong.
No, wait. I took my first show was the strongest shit.
Diazide.
No.
Lasix.
Oh my God.
They took it off the market because it was so strong.
What?
Metabolic nutrition.
Synedrex.
Yes.
Yeah.
That shit was basically like medical grade shit.
That shit kept me alive while I was in the crunch in the city with like sleep deprivation. I would take the Synedrex every day. My appetite would be gone, but it was just keeping me moving.
So it was also an upper. Oh my God. Yeah, well, they took ephedrine off the market when
I was doing an ECA stack.
Yeah,
ephedra, caffeine, aspirin.
It wasn't terrible. Like, I mean, now I can slam a C4 from a can, and I'm like, same effect. It's the same thing.
Like, we get back to the healthy portion of how healthy is this sport. Now, what I'm going to say next, I do not condone.
They look healthy.
I do not condone. I think I was really stupid when I was doing this in prep, but I know, John could probably say, I've never touched anything. I don't care who touches drugs. And obviously, you've dealt with naturally as well.
Yeah.
Prep is much different for a natural athlete, in my opinion, from what I see and from what I see and what I hear.
Sure.
It is very tough on the body where you don't have forces keeping, like you said earlier, the muscle density for you. And this, I was getting extremely lethargic towards the end of prep.
Oh my God, yeah.
I'll never forget. I walked
couldn't
into
get off my couch.
I walked into Montanari Bros and I'm friends with all the guys up there. you know, and they're like, "Hey, Nick, what's going on this side?" I'm just like, "What's up?" Like, you know, just a very monotone. I got to get in there, just get shit done. I went to go pick up the 30-pound dumbbell. I must have been 2 weeks out. I was 160 pounds. I went to go pick the 30-pound dumbbell up, and it felt like a mountain.
Wow.
I was like, "Why is this so heavy?" I don't condone what I'm about to say and what I was doing to keep myself going because it was really tough.
Yeah.
I was taking the ECA stack, which is the ephedra caffeine aspirin pill, whatever.
Yeah.
I think I was taking 2 a day. On top of that, I was probably drinking 2 to 3 black cups of coffee a day. And then I was also taking, oh, what's up, Kenji? So nice of you to join us. And then I was also taking 4 scoops. I'm not joking. 4 scoops of Mr. Hyde to work out. That's
I
that
used
was
to take that.
250 milligrams of caffeine a scoop. I was drinking a gram of caffeine to just get myself going.
Your nervous system hated you for that.
Yeah.
I couldn't for years after.
I did the same thing.
For years after, a pre-workout didn't really affect me. It would just get me super anxious.
I would have to take it.
Yeah.
I would have to take it even after I was done with it. Like, I still have to do it.
And there were times where I actually had to walk myself out of the gym because I thought I was having a heart attack. I actually had to, like that, my pulse was skyrocketing, and I'd have to actually sit there and talk myself off the ledge and go, "You're good. Just chill and breathe.
Ride it out, man."
Yeah.
And
It's a bad trip.
That's what it felt like. And you know, I tell people this, and sometimes they think I'm joking, and I'm not.
Yeah.
And I say I am very lucky that I didn't have a heart attack.
It's almost 2,000 milligrams in one shot. Yeah.
And you might not have been good. You might have been close.
I might have
You know
been
what I mean?
very
Really
close
think about that.
multiple different occasions because with everything going on and going into my system, that was a lot.
So your body has to regulate itself through its central nervous system and your endocrine system and fucking everything.
Sure.
And if those things aren't firing, caffeine will suppress that system in the worst possible way. But we don't care. We're addicted. And when you're at that stage where you're 2 weeks out, where, you know, my kids are going out the door with my wife saying, "All right," I'm like, "Have fun at the beach," you know, not being able to hang out with them because I couldn't move. The only thing I would do was take enough uppers, basically all caffeine and, you know, whatever the hell is in that stuff. I took Hyde and also was drinking black coffee.
The old formula of Hyde.
Yeah.
The new one's bitch shit.
Yeah,
The
well-
old formula, you took a scoop, or you took 4 scoops, but you took 1 scoop and your chest hair grew back.
Or Gat
Jacked?
Jet Fuel. No,
Jacked.
Jet Fuel.
Jack 3D.
Yeah.
Jack.
That's what I took.
Yeah, that was DMAA, right? That's when it first came out. That was like the real shit.
That was.
That went away quick.
And I was taking 3 scoops of that and drinking black coffee throughout the day as like a diuretic with the dandelion root. And all it did was create the most miserable 2 weeks of my life going into the show.
Yep.
It was so horrible. And I'll never. And then my trainer at the time, I've only had 2 trainers, and I love them both. But he said, here's this little pill. I'm like, what the do I really need this? It'll dry out, you know, because, you know, when you lose your muscle mass, you got to shrink everything else around it. If you take this, you're going to, and I'm like, oh, fuck. It was a pill of diazide. And
You don't take
Is
a,
one
you
pill
don't
a
take
lot? What is it? I
Yes.
don't
you're
know.
supposed to take a half a
half.
pill.
Oh, God.
And I'm like, and I'm sitting there with it in my hands. And I remember the way I looked for the show, though, it was my first show. I'm like, no, fuck this, man. I look good. And I ended up winning. It was a small show, and I won the Masters. Okay, and I placed 3rd in the Open, and I was like, this is cool, man. But I remember sitting there with it, going like, if I take this, there's an immediate result that can happen. And it was in a little baggie. like you would,
crack bag?
the stuff that I used to find on the street. Yeah.
This is probably a diazide.
Little crack bag.
this might be diazide.
It was in my
don't
car.
So I remember being, you know, and then what happened, the scariest thing that happened, and kids, if you're listening at home, the scariest thing that ever happened to me in my life, I ended up picking out that night so terribly. And then the next morning, then the next day, my body went into shock.
Is that what happened?
2 things happened.
Yeah, it can.
2 things happened where it rebounded so terribly that water retention started where I was shredded. Okay, naturally shredded.
Oh, yeah. You had,
Water.
you rebounded horribly. Yeah.
It was more than that. My legs got so swollen and all around my belly.
Yep.
was that my skin was about this thick when it used to be
Mm.
paper thin. And all of a sudden, it started coming up near my heart. And I messaged my coach, and I said, dude, what the fuck is going on? He goes, did you take that Diazide? I'm like, no. He goes, take it. I'm like, no, I can't. And he goes, because if you're rebounding, it's going to flush everything out.
Mhm.
And I'm sitting there, and he says, and if you fall asleep, make sure you're not laying down, like nonchalant. I'm like, what the make sure I'm not laying down. Like, why? He goes, because then the water's going to come around your heart and you die of a heart attack. Like that was, and for one night, no, I didn't take it.
Mhm.
I ended up taking dandelion root. And even then I was scared. I stayed up, not able to breathe.
2 days post show.
There's a little rebound around the belly area.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's kind of, so now imagine that coming up to your chest.
Ever show you that?
And
Yeah.
it's not just subcutaneous, it's around the organs.
Yeah.
So I was, my heart was like pounding. And for an entire night, I sat up in the bed I sat with my daughter. And I think I disclosed this to my wife. Well, she's going to know now. Thinking it was my last night on earth. That's how scary this was. And I sat there with my daughter. I said, I want to be next to my daughter. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't want my daughter to wake up to a dead father. Like, I can laugh about it now. So I actually got up and went downstairs.
So stressed.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah.
Went downstairs and I'm like, fuck it, and I sat up till about 5 a.m. Watched the sun just started coming up. It was like late summer and it was starting to get light out. And all of a sudden, I kind of felt, I'm like, oh, all right, it receded. And I said, fucking never again. 3 years later, I did it again.
Of course.
And the next trainer said, take a Diazide. I have some if you'd like. And no.
Where the fuck is everyone getting these from?
What old people do you know that you're getting this stuff from? So yeah. And again, I like to think that the theme today is why the fuck do we do this to ourselves? And why does anybody want to do it? And I hope that at least something was taken from this today, from like the disclosure from you guys, from my like little story, that think about what you're doing before you do it. Everything's easier said than done. Everything's on impulse. Everyone wants the instant gratification.
Mhm.
But really, really, buddy, before you go on that boat trip, Friday through Saturday, why are you doing this, man? It takes hard work to get up to that point. And if you do it right, you don't have to worry about dying of a heart attack if you have too many beers, or having to take dandelion root. Like, really, think about it before you do it. And if you really want to get into it, don't say that the gym is your therapy. The gym is not therapy. It's part of it. Being healthy is part of it. You really want therapy, if you really want to delve into why you are a certain way and how to cope with those things, you need real therapy. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. There's a stigma attached to it, especially for men. There's nothing wrong with admitting I need to talk to somebody. And it can't be my wife and it can't be my best friend. It has to be a professional who can help me do it. And currently right now, I'm not doing that. And I'm at a place where after with this whole quarantine thing, I'm ready to go back. I've done it over the years. It's been some really good experiences, some not so good experiences, and some great therapists. And I've been to about 10 different ones this is over 30 years. So I would say find your niche, and if you want to learn how to cope, and if you're experiencing depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, and you want to learn how to cope with it and get past it, don't try and figure out how you got there. That's part of the process. But think about how you can move forward and how you can cope with it. And it takes professionals to do that. And if you have the access to do it, do it. There's no shame in it. I see, again, guys who hide behind huge tattoos. I'm getting a big ass tattoo, but, and that's fine. Love tattoos, all right? And I had the shaved head and the beard because I like the way I look. It makes me look more angular, But, just because we look a certain way doesn't mean we're not fucking human. And So I'm hoping that's at the very least that when people see a dude like me, they see dudes like you, successful men, men's men, which I wanted to, this is my bag right. Which, it wouldn't be a man show with that. I got a little gift for you guys. I know you're not a big
man.
drinker.
Yeah.
But if you do, this is now. Do you like whiskey?
I do.
You do. I'm sure you've had this before. It's now I'm not a whiskey connoisseur.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm not.
That's okay.
But I love whiskey. I'm more of a, I like the old stuff. It took me about 10 years to learn how to really drink whiskey.
Yeah.
But if you enjoy whiskey and you want a little bit of taste, that's my boy.
Kenji's excited.
It's a bottle of Jack.
Hey.
It's the honey. It's the
Oh,
Okay.
my man.
Okay. This is now nobody's. I'm gonna put it between you so you fight. now.
Kenji's like,
let me
what do you
tell
got for me?
Let me tell you. Yes, this is.
His
look
little
at
face.
that. That's for you, buddy. Oh, I love it. Now let me tell you. I pride myself on whiskey.
Mhm.
Jack Daniels is a good whiskey for everybody. Now, now you've had Jack, am I correct?
Yeah.
You've had
Of
Jack.
course.
Okay, so listen, that's like a staple for me. Jack and Coke. If
I'm the
drink
same
it-
way. Yeah.
If I'm going to drink it straight, Jack with a little bit of honey in it. Okay, it's
Yeah.
really good. It's really good. But if you really want to get it, listen. If you ever want to hit up some good whiskey, like that woody, oaky, disgusting crap that tastes like an ashtray, he doesn't like it. You're talking the Johnny Walker stuff. You're
Yeah.
talking
Mhm.
you're talking the blue. You're talking the green. You're talking the King George V. Some good stuff. But so I wanted to just little token of my esteem for having me on today.
I appreciate
Thank
that.
you, man.
Oh no, it's my pleasure, absolutely, and it's something that I bonded with my father with. Some daddy issues we're bringing up right now. When I turned 30, and a quick story, I turned 30. He said, "It's time you start drinking whiskey because every time you come here, you're drinking beers. Like, what's wrong with that?"
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we sat, and he started me with Dewar's. Which is disgusting.
Ugh,
Ugh.
God.
Mhm.
Then he's like, "No, you're gonna learn how to taste Dewar's."
Grades of whiskey.
Yeah, exactly. So about a 6-month process, it got to a point where every time I came up, he graduated me to. Now he's a connoisseur. This guy is
Yeah.
legit.
No joke.
Like
Yeah.
Johnny Walker gives him bottles,
Oh, shit.
so he gets good thing. He's not an alcoholic, which I have to say that.
Yes.
But he loves his whiskey. So blended Scotch whiskey, single malts are disgusting, but I'll drink them.
Mhm.
Long story short, he got it to a point where you learn to appreciate after drinking it straight or on the rocks or a little bit of water. You learn how to taste it, and it's enjoyable.
Yep.
To the point where it's like, you'll have 3 or 4 and you're hammered, but it's a great hammer.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, philosophical shit starts coming out.
Yep.
And you could do that on a show. And then
Well, that's why. Listen.
That's what we were talking about the other
We
day.
were talking about getting a liquor
Yeah.
shelf, like right back here. I mean, most of the people we have on is our other guy Tom from VMI brought us that rum.
the pirate rum. That's straight from Jamaica, right?
I
there.
guess. Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't even know. I didn't even want to open.
I've seen that in Jamaica.
because that case. I mean,
The XO Reserve, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I guess. I don't know.
That's
We have never tried it, but listen, I want to get glasses. So I brought my coasters from my granite coasters from home.
We need some.
Very nice.
We need some tequila. Lick the salt rock, and then
Yeah, lick the salt rock and then do the shot. I'll tell you, if you want to drink really good whiskey, it's called Hibiki.
Mm.
It's Japanese whiskey.
Mm.
It's like about $100 a bottle.
I'd never heard of it.
You should go get a bottle if you like whiskey.
Really?
It's unfucking believable. The
Yeah.
smoothest shit I've ever drinking.
I like smooth.
Drinking, drunk.
Drinking, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Drinking.
I like smooth, but
It's earthy.
ew. when I get to drink Johnny Walker Blue, and it's not mine. It's not like I'm paying $180 for that bottle, but every time I would go to my father's, you're drinking that blue, and all of a sudden everything is shit. And that's what kind of dumbed it down for me. But then when I stopped,
Yeah.
every time I go there, drink, hey, Johnny Walker Blue, I learned how to appreciate other whiskeys. But I will definitely
Try that out.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'd have to buy it by the glass before I go and spend 100 beans on something like that.
Yeah.
Or we just me and I get philosophical one night. We just we go
Fuck
train
yeah.
heavy legs and then we slam them back and then
Yes.
start just preaching about shit.
I've
What if
been
you
known
slam
to
them
do
back
it.
and then go train legs?
Oh God.
Then we'll be throwing up on each other.
Yeah, my balance would be horrible.
Hell, I can't even eat before I work out. You kidding me? So enjoy. It's,
I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
thank you,
Seriously.
man.
I hope you've. It's good.
We
stuff.
definitely will. You'll see us pouring some out during some shows.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. And get that liquor cabinet.
We're definitely going to. I'm
Yeah, we're
gonna
gonna
get
find
a
something
shelf
nice.
like this. I get a shelf like that.
Nice mahogany.
Yeah, all my villains.
Very nice.
Yes. But listen, it's been an absolute pleasure.
For sure,
Seriously,
man.
I appreciate you.
In the
Glad you
COVID
came on.
age, we shake hands here.
That's it. That's fine with me.
Yep.
I'm gonna have John kick this outro.
So, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in this week's episode of The Voice.
And Rizzle's joined by our friend
Jim Petti.
There we go, baby. Boom.
That's it. That's all I am.
Peace.